everyone. Daniel, how you doing?
Pretty good. Jake, how you doing?
I'm great because we are joined by a very special guest,
What?
Mr. Zach Seiger. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, guys. I'm really excited.
Yeah, of course, man.
Thanks for being here. We talked about you a little bit. That sounds weird, but we talked about you on one of our previous episodes. I think it was some of the running ones. This is the legend, the fastest runner you'll ever see, right?
I don't know about that. We all, were on track and cross country together in high school, and yeah, I feel like I haven't talked to you guys probably in, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been too long. Yeah, it's like really weird, Zach. We did like a lot of stuff together, like a lot of activities, and then from going to that to like not see each other for a while, like it's just weird.
Yeah, it is.
But it's nice to catch up and everything.
Especially running is like, it's kind of like a year-round sport.
Yeah.
So like we have cross country in the fall, and then, indoor-ish track in the winter. But
Indoor-ish, yeah.
even in the winter, we were doing musical.
Yeah.
Then the spring is track. So it's just like, I feel like we were always around each other, and then we just like weren't.
And you had to go and graduate. What the heck's that about?
I know, sorry. I had to like go to college.
His future? Nah, who cares about that?
But yeah, Zach's gonna join us. We've been talking about this for a while. But yeah, so that's a good little pre-banter. Ready for the introduction?
Yeah, hit me with it, Jake.
You may want us to talk about this or that, but we don't care. We're gonna talk about whatever we want. Blah.
Didn't you say last time that you wanted to, like, maybe change that up? Have you put any more thought towards that?
Yes, I didn't think about it.
Okay.
I forgot to prep for it, so the old way it is. But yeah, before we get into the topic of the week, we got a couple things up top. Very important news. So when this episode drops the following Monday, so like 2 days later, it'll be our 1-year anniversary of this podcast. So
Woo!
Happy
Jeez.
anniversary. Woo. I feel like it has not been that long.
Yeah, no, it doesn't feel like that. It's been that long.
Yeah, July 13th, 2019 was the first podcast drop. So thank you to everyone that has been with us since then or been with us from then till now. So basically everyone. Thank you everyone for allowing us to do this. Yeah, also I'm going to maybe insert a little clip here of the giveaway winners because I haven't done that yet, but by the time this goes out, that giveaway for the mug will be there. So yeah, congratulations to whoever won. We don't know at the time of recording. This is Jake from the future. Editor Jake wanted to say thank you and congratulations to Dora Courtney and Logan Baker. You're the winners. I'm going to get your mugs soon if I haven't already by the time this goes out. Woo! Finally, before we get into it, basically, you know how audiobooks are pretty similar to podcasts, I guess? Both listening?
Yeah, you just sit down, you listen,
Yeah.
give it a good hear. Yeah.
All right, so we now have this Audible link. If you want to support the show, you can go down to our description or type in, I think it's audibletrial.com/whatever we want. And basically, if you literally just sign up for a free trial, we get $15. So if you want to support the show, that's a really easy way to do that. And also, I have kind of compiled a list of books that I recommend. We posted them on our Patreon page, but it's for everyone. I made it public, and it has links to those Audible audiobooks, and they're kind of filmmaking books. So if you are inspired by our podcast, learning about all this new film stuff, and you want to learn more about films, these are some books that I've personally read that I would recommend, and you can listen to them.
Neat. So some even more behind the scenes.
That's cool, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's dope.
All right, that's stuff I had up top. Not as much as I usually have, surprisingly. So we're continuing with the MCU. Zach, what are we talking about this week?
Today we're doing Captain America.
Yeah.
Which I watched back yesterday. I hadn't seen it in a while.
It's 9 years old.
I know.
The movie is very old.
It's one of those that I guess I'm getting old enough now where I can kind of remember when movies came out.
Yeah.
And people will be like, oh, that's 9 years ago. And I'm like, what? No.
I know.
It just can't. No.
I saw someone posted Toy Story 3 came out 10 years ago, and I was like, what? That is not it. That's not true. That's just
Wait,
not.
that wasn't a meme? No, it was actually 10 years ago for that?
Yeah, that was actually 10 years ago.
Oh my god.
It was 2010.
That doesn't make sense in my brain.
So yeah, so we're talking about Captain America. Captain America is my favorite superhero, so I'm actually very excited to hop into it and talk about him and the movie.
Yeah, one thing I really like kind of about this first Captain America movie especially, since it's set in a different time period, it has a different feel to it, and the pace is different than your typical MCU movie.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I think is really welcome, and obviously it wasn't that much of a change of pace when it first came out, because it was the third movie? Maybe?
Fourth, I think.
The fourth? Okay. So
Yeah.
maybe technically fifth, maybe with
Hulk.
if you count the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which people don't.
So it didn't necessarily feel like a nice welcome change of time period at the time that it came out, but now,
Like looking back,
watching it back, I'm like, oh, this is so refreshing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like not the typical like complete Marvel like formula
Right.
that they were developing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Captain America was directed by Joe Johnston. I actually watched the director's commentary with him, and the director's commentary actually wasn't just him. It was like Joe Johnston, and then it was with Shelley Johnson, who was the director of photography, the DP, and then Jeffrey Ford, who was the editor. So it was like it was literally like this: three guys talking like on like a podcast format. I don't know if I should be comparing us to the creators of Captain America, like the movie, but I think we're pretty close to the same tier.
Definitely, dude.
Yeah, but Joe Johnston, the director, he's a big VFX guy, which like is good. I actually kind of forgot how much VFX were in this, especially with like the whole shrinking thing, which we'll get to. But like he worked on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Jurassic Park 3, and Jumanji, like the original Jumanji. And then he also he worked with Steven Spielberg on Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there's actually a couple like references to that.
Oh yeah, I wrote down one of those in my notes.
Yeah.
When we get to it.
You took notes?
Yeah, I took notes.
Yo, you're right. You're better than Daniel already. Daniel, you better watch out.
I take notes sometimes in my brain, you know?
That's the equivalent of not taking notes.
That's me in college, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So we start with Paramount logo. This is actually the final MCU film that was under Paramount. Disney bought the rights right after this. And then where does it start?
So we start off.
See if your brain remembers with the notes.
Ooh, look, it's foggy. Ooh, look, it's icy. Ooh, look, we have some guys coming in through the like snow fog stuff.
The answer I was looking for is present day.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
it's
present day. Yeah. I was thinking like scene. Yeah.
You need like the Jeopardy sound effect when someone gets like a question wrong, like the boop, boop, boop.
I'll put that in. I'll put it in just for you. But yeah, so it's present day. That actually was shot like on a sound stage. They just
Really?
filled it with a bunch of smoke. So like it was shot like inside.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
it looked like the Arctic. And like the sun in the background was literally like on a track, and like they just pushed it like to make it look like it moved and followed the camera with the perspective.
That's crazy.
I love those kind of effects though.
Yeah.
Instead of just like kind of copping out and always just going to CGI when you can do that type of thing.
Yeah, we can do it practically.
Like I really like that. Like one of my favorite directors is Christopher Nolan, and like that's like
Yes.
a marquee thing for him.
He's a huge practical. Yeah, he's one of my favorite directors too.
Yeah, so
His new movie Tenet's coming out,
big
right?
new Christopher Nolan movie coming out this summer.
Yeah.
Hopefully they keep pushing the dates
Yeah,
back.
it keeps getting pushed back. As of now, it's supposed to be. It got pushed back from end of July to like beginning ish of August. So hopefully it's not pushed back
Again.
again.
Yeah, not gonna hold my breath though.
Yeah, seriously. Someone told me that Jurassic Park was actually like top of the box office in cinema because it's the only thing that the drive-ins were playing because there's no new movies out. So like it's crazy that like this like 30-year-old movie or 40-year-old movie whatever is like the top of the box office again. But anyways, back to the tank. Oh, we got to get you, Zach. We need to have you do the like whatever we want like bingo. You need to do a back to the tank. Maybe some other things. I don't know what else would be on the bingo board.
What else do we say?
I'll have to make a bingo board if I come on again.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, we're the present. There's that cool laser that cuts through like the ship and the ice. It's kind of like Fury's in Captain America 2, you know, when he cuts through the ground.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I was going to say. Also, it also reminded me of like Tony's, even though I'm like, why would Tony use that or that hardware for, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because I'm assuming this is S.H.I.E.L.D. going out for this excursion. I don't know. It just made me think of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're cutting into this giant hull of this craft. They have no idea what it is yet. That way they can get inside.
Yeah. So that ship, like, you know how it's all frozen and like it's obviously the same set as like the final fight scene in the third act.
Yeah.
They actually they filmed that in the middle of filming the fight scene. Just like with scheduling, it worked out that they could only shoot that in the middle of the fight scene. So pretty much they shot the first half of the fight scene and they had to like destroy it and like make it look all frozen. Like they literally had to like freeze it and like tear it down, like make it look like it had been frozen for 70 years. Film that scene, then unfreeze it and like build it back up to like normal, and then film that last half of the fight scene. Like that's crazy.
Jeez, that's a lot. Yeah.
That seems
Yeah.
super efficient.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the diva actors was like, I'm not gonna be in town. You're gonna need to figure something out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some people, like, I think Marvel has done a good job of finding people that seem to like work well. I guess that's kind of what they do. They find like actors that aren't really like that big yet, and they kind of like give them a platform to prove themselves, which like Chris Evans, which we'll eventually talk about, he like wasn't really well known and actually like considered kind of like a failed actor, and it's kind Kind of same with Chris Hemsworth before like Marvel kind of gave him this chance, and now look at that.
Yeah, because what was Chris Evans doing before? I mean, he's Fantastic Four before.
He was Human Torch.
Yeah, Human Torch.
He was in Scott Pilgrim. That's all I really remember.
I thought there was something else too. I can't think of it, but yeah, like those were the two big ones that like people would mainly remember, and then this, huge jump for him. So pretty nice.
Yeah.
And now he thinks he's too good for Marvel. So
yeah, honestly, he was very skeptical to take this role. Actually, we'll talk about it later though. I've got it. We'll get there.
You have your notes. Your mental notes.
I have my notes. No, I don't have my mental notes. That's what I've written down. I'm not you. But yeah, so that frozen ship, they see Cap's shield. It's a really cool, like, that shield, I really like how it looks. Like, I feel like it could be really easy to just, like, be this, like, really cheesy, like, oh, it's a star on a circle. But, like, it's like, iconic,
Yeah.
Especially for, like, the people that are digging that up are probably people that, like, in this world, like, read Captain America comic books as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
And you're literally just, like, finding your childhood hero, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's something that's like immediately recognizable for them.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. I'm gonna drop the podcast. I'm gonna go start digging in the Arctic to find that.
You just find a capsicle, but instead of him actually being able to be
A
revived,
capsicle.
he's just like you can't save him. He's just dead.
I do imagine though, in like an alternate version of this movie, they kind of like brush off like the frosted part of the snow, and instead of like seeing Captain America's shield, there's just like his face is just like there.
Oh,
and it's
my
like,
gosh.
it's like super freaky.
Oh.
It's like they shoot like a horror movie.
I think that the shield is better for the tone of the film.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like Walt Disney's frozen head is like next to him. But yeah, so right before we leave this set, so this actually was apparently like a really tough set to work on. Apparently the director, like this whole like the podcast crew, as I'm going to call them, for the director's commentary, they said that like there was like 3 or 4 like broken ankles just trying to maneuver around this set while filming.
Jeez.
That's crazy. That's a lot of workers' comp.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we flash back to Norway.
Big bomb boys are bombarding this. I was going to try to do an alliteration thing.
Have you ever watched The Office?
Yeah.
I don't mean to tangent. So I feel like every time I ask you, like, Daniel, what happens? You start talking like Kevin when he like starts using like less words. He's like, why? Why use more words? Few words do trick. Like that's you.
No, I'm just trying to make it smooth, but I guess I do the opposite. I end up like Kevin. But no, so Hydra is starting to bombard Norway, this town, because they're looking for something ancient and powerful, which is
that like car pulls up. That car, some of those shots were like all CG.
Well, also before the car,
yeah,
there's like the giant bulldozer tank thing that blows down a wall.
Oh my gosh, that tank was so big. That's in my notes.
Yeah, that's one big boy.
That's in my notes. Tank is big.
Well, I have big effing tank, but I don't know if this is an explicit podcast, so I was just like,
it doesn't,
big tank.
I mean, I don't care. It's really big, and it like blasts through that door. You know the guy that's like actually guarding the Tesseract?
Yeah, that's Filch.
Yeah, that's Filch from Harry Potter. I like never knew that, and for some reason.
Who's also in Game of Thrones, and there's another Game of Thrones actor that makes a cameo later in this movie that I'll talk about.
Oh, really? I've never watched Game of Thrones, which I know is like crazy. I know. I don't have HBO. I'm sorry.
Dude, hit me up for my login info. I'll slide it to you.
Oh, sweet. But I think I also saw with AT&T, I get like a free month with that.
Yes,
So
that is true.
I think I'm gonna do that.
You can binge it in a month if you want.
I was talking to Daniel. I was like, I need to binge it. Is there a month I can just waste and like just do Game of Thrones?
Yeah, well, we've had like 4 now.
Yeah, you're like tactically trying to think. You're like, when do I not have work?
Yeah.
when can I just sit down and not do anything and just watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I've only seen like the first episode, and it was like all incest, and I was like, oh, that's.
And you didn't keep
That's
watching?
great.
What? That's the whole thing is just about that. So that's it. There's no other plots that go on during the whole thing. So don't watch it.
Man, a whole month of that, I can't wait. Yeah. All right, let's
Back to the tank. Yeah.
So the Red Skull walks in after that one guy gets crushed. I feel bad for that guy.
Yeah.
Luckily, the actual like thing that fell on him, it was like styrofoam, like foam bricks.
Oh.
So he was probably fine. Probably.
No, I thought it was a real brick. He actually died, and they had to like.
Well, good. Well, that's the movie's doing its job then.
Authentic.
But yeah, so it sets up the villain, like the Red Skull. Obviously, he's not the Red Skull. He walks in, Hugo Weaving. Oh, he's just like an intimidating guy. Like I think he does a really good job in this film.
Definitely.
He's got such a great name too, Johann Schmidt.
Yeah.
Like it's just like very German, obviously. And just like
Yeah.
anytime there's like that SCH sound, I'm just like, yes, like that's so menacing.
Yes, Queen. No.
Yes, please blow up my town.
Yeah,
Yes.
every time they say Johann Schmidt, I'm like, yes, Queen.
I wrote that every time in my notes that his name was said. But yeah, obviously, like, spoilers for Endgame, but like he comes in Infinity War, but like Red Skull eventually like comes back, but it's actually not the same actor. It's like it's someone else because Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back. I don't know the whole story. We'll probably talk about it more when we get to Infinity War and Endgame and stuff. But yeah,
That's gonna be a while.
Hugo Weaving.
Yeah.
He does a good job. Agent Smith from The Matrix. Yeah, it also, I like how it sets up his strength, like, because it shows those three guys, like, aren't able to push the tune.
And then he just pushes it off, like, instantly.
And he's just like, yeet!
Yeah, he yeets it off.
I was remembering back to the first time I watched it, and, like, I didn't notice that at first. But then, like, this time rewatching, I was like, oh, he's Strong Boy.
Oh, shoot. I forgot to say ARoSW. ARoSW? Really out of the sound clip.
Did you ever see Return of the Jedi?
They do a ton of like foreshadowing and like hinting at Red Skull in this scene.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like when like he gets shot and then like the blood splats on the Hydra pin, and then also you see as it's panning down, like he kind of adjusts his mask because like his face is a mask.
Yeah, it's loose.
And you can see any of the shots from the back. You can see like the seam on his mask too.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really, I like that. I love that attention to detail that Marvel does.
For sure.
Yeah.
I also liked how for the wall that the Tesseract was actually hiding in, it was actually showing the world tree.
The Tree of Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was
And, like,
kind of we talked about in Thor last time.
Yeah. So like bringing that lore obviously back in, which is always nice.
I think it is another nice detail of just like a lot of this stuff is like Nordic and Norse legend. So just to like have this scene unplay in Norway just like makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. But I actually wanted to talk about, so I was watching some of the behind the scenes on the Captain America DVD I have, and so they had an interview actually with Joe Simon, who was like the original creator of Captain America and Red Skull, and he was talking about his inspiration for Red Skull, and he's like, I need a good villain for Captain America. So he went out and got ice cream. He got a hot fudge sundae, and he was like, ooh, these tentacles on the hot fudge, like it looks like tentacles almost, like the hot fudge coming down. That's cool. And he looked up and he saw the cherry on top, and he was like, that's it. And that's how Red Skull became a thing.
Oh my goodness.
Red Skull, just the ultimate cherry on top.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just thought that was really funny.
Take off one cherry, two more will take its place.
That's great. Every time you eat a cherry, two more show up on
Yeah, just unlimited cherries. It's like the exponential growth, like all of a sudden, like you just have like a million cherries. But anyways.
This scene also has the first Indiana Jones call out.
Oh, yeah?
So Johann Schmidt says that the Fuhrer digs for trinkets in the desert while he looks for like the Tesseract and the gods. And he's referring to the search for the Ark of the Covenant, which is the whole plot of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So now, fake canon, in my mind, Indiana Jones is in the MCU, which also means that when that terrible fourth Indiana Jones movie comes out, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Shia LaBeouf is in the MCU.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, jeez.
The first Shia LaBeouf. That's good. I think also, what's his face, the director Joe Johnston, I think that's his name. He said that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were big influences on him. And obviously George Lucas was also, he was a like friend of Steven Spielberg, and they worked on films together. I think that's really cool. I don't know really where I was going with that.
Do we want to continue with things?
the snake, he gets the cube. I also feel like the Tesseract has been nerfed in how much light it emits.
Oh, definitely.
It's like, it was like so bright, and it's crazy, and then like in like Infinity War, it's eventually like it's not that much. But we talk about sound design a lot, or I do. I'm fascinated with sound design, and like the Tesseract has like a very distinct sound to it.
Yeah,
and it's very cool. Like there's not like obviously like a real world like reference for
what the Tesseract sounds like,
a magical cube from space, but like they've come up with like that like kind of like glowing like energy hum, and like you immediately know like this is what it is. I think that's really cool association.
Yeah, it seems kind of similar to like the hum that a lightsaber gives off, but obviously like distinct enough that you're not like, why does that sound like a lightsaber?
Yeah.
And it opens it up.
I also like how in Cap 2 we know like Star Wars exists in the MCU, like he has that list of like things he needs to watch. So like Fury, like I'm picturing like why did Nick Fury like star the Star Wars movies and then went on to be a spy? Yeah, so this is towards the end of the scene. The Filch, the guy who plays Filch, he warns him, he's like, like, you will burn. And he's like, I already have, because obviously he's already the Red Skull. And like we talked about, the blood that when he shoots him, that like gets on his
little pin,
his pin. That's actually, it was CG blood, which I thought was
really?
pretty good CG blood.
Boo.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I thought it was like an actual
Real blood. We want real blood, not even like fake blood. Someone's got to bleed for this.
He was actually shot. That's the last time you'll see Filch. That's why he's not in any of the new Harry Potter movies.
Oh man,
You should see how he goes out in Game of Thrones. You want to talk about blood?
Oh, really?
Blood.
We might have to talk about Game of Thrones on this podcast eventually. I know my aunt would really like that. She's a big Game of Thrones fan. But yeah, so that's the end of the little opening scene, and we cut to Skinny Steve.
Basically, at this point in the movie, he's just so desperate to get in the army, so he's just like bouncing around from enlistment to enlistment, like falsifying information to try and get in the army. And so obviously, like, he's getting denied because they show this like laundry list of things that are wrong with him, like asthma, and it's just like you can't even read them all because it cuts to it so fast. But like they mention like the asthma, but you see on his sheet there's like probably like 14 lines of stuff that's
like
just
heart
like
problems and
it's like 20 things. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the shrinking process? Because like this was crazy for.
It is crazy, and you probably know more about it to talk to it better, but I do know that they initially wanted to use a body double.
Yeah.
But apparently Chris Evans just like moves too uniquely, and the body double was like, what? Like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So they kind of had to like pivot 180 and just
did a full 180.
Sort of like the Rocket Mortgage Jason Momoa commercial, like just digitally shrink him.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of research, and they talk about this a lot. Like, when I thought of this movie, I was like, there's not that many visual effects. And that's what like the directors thought, and like the director and like the whole podcast crew, they were thinking. But then like when you get into it, you like literally shrinking down like Chris Evans, who's like one of the most jacked humans.
For like the whole first act of the movie.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and the way they did it, like, so like you said, they were originally going to do a body double. And actually there's a couple shots where like if it was way too complicated to shrink down, they actually did do a body double. The way they did it, they said there was like no one way to do it. They had like 4 different ways. They would like shoot the scene with Chris Evans like acting. He had like really baggy clothes on, and then they would shoot just like a clean plate, which means like it's just no one in the scene. So because like obviously when you shrink someone down,
you got to fill in the background.
Yeah, background's gonna be there that like the camera didn't pick up the first time, so that's so they can fill that in. But yeah, literally they went through a lot for most of the time, went frame by frame, and just shrunk him down. You can't just like take him and just literally just scale him down proportionally. Like, that's not how it works.
That would look ridiculous.
They would just be like a shorter, jacked man.
Just like a very buff Chris Evans child.
That wouldn't work. I want to see that cut of the movie. But no, so they literally went through and they had to like skinny up his body, his arms. They would like take his jaw and like make it angular. They had to skinny his neck up because like he had like a thick, muscular neck. That was one way they did it.
Imagine if they didn't shrink his neck. So they like shrunk his head, but his neck was the same size, so his neck was just like the same thickness as his head, and it just like went straight into his head.
I don't think he'd be as lovable that way. I mean, the reason Chris Evans wanted this is because he wanted it to be like his performance kind of thing, and also like you said, like they even said like even when he does his stunts later, like he has like a very unique way of moving that like it was tough for even like gymnasts to like nail, and he did a lot of his own stunts because of that. But like seriously, like I cannot overstate how crazy these visual effects are. Kevin Feige, like the head producer, president of Marvel now, he said that like when they were showing test footage to people would go up to them and say like, how did you add like muscles onto that skinny guy? And they were like, no, it's the other way around. They were like, what? That's when he knew like it was gonna work kind of thing. And I think it's crazy good effects. Like it was 2011, which like visual effects have come away since then, but like it's just so good. Like yeah.
Chef's kisses.
Exactly. But also, can we talk about Chris Evans a little bit? Because I know the casting for him was very controversial at the time.
Why? Because of the Human Torch stuff, or I forget what it was.
A little bit.
It's just funny to like hear about people who are like so iconic in their roles, how they like almost didn't get, or like it was controversial when they got a part, and you're like, what? Captain America is Chris Evans. Like, it's just so weird to think back on.
I know, you can't picture anyone else. Like I said, Chris Evans had been known, he'd been typecasted as like a very like kind of like bold, kind of like almost like kind of a douche like character. Like he was the Human Torch. He was which also people were upset because he was a Human Torch. So like, oh, that's another Marvel thing. He can't be Captain America as well. But also he was like boyfriend number 2 or whatever in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, who like has the like giant eyebrows and like just like so full of himself. Like that was what he was known for being, and people weren't sure he he had like kind of like the acting chops to like pull this off. And like I can't imagine like anyone else doing it. Some of the other people that were like considered for the role, the Jonas Brothers actually auditioned, but they didn't make it far in the process. Yeah, like Joe Jonas and Kevin Jonas both like loved Captain America, and they both auditioned for it. They did not make it far.
They've made a resurgence recently, but that would have been hilarious.
Yeah. But John Krasinski from The Office, like we were talking about earlier, he auditioned. I think this was like 2010 probably when they were auditioning. So like I think The Office was still going on. So that would have been, or either maybe just wrapping up, I don't know. But that would have been interesting, like Jim from The Office. Like, what if just like one season Jim came on was just jacked all of a sudden?
Guys, I'm back from vacation.
It would be a great cameo if he would have come into the office for Halloween dressed up as Captain America.
As Captain America.
In like the actual like costume from set though.
Yeah, like the professional Hollywood costume.
Jim, that looks so professional.
Especially because in the office, Jim hates Halloween.
He hates dressing up. Yeah.
And so he could just oh, that would have been hilarious.
But some other people that were considered for the role were Chris Pine, like the Hollywood Chris's. They were all together. Channing Tatum was rumored to be considered for it. And Sebastian Stan, actually, the guy that plays Bucky, the reason he got his foot in the door with the film was because he auditioned for Captain America, and then they thought he'd be better for Bucky. So yeah, that's how that kind of went down. I like him as Bucky a lot. I don't think he really has a chance to shine in this movie, but like future MCU films, I think he does a really great job.
Yeah, one more thing to point out before we kind of move on from this phase of the movie.
Yeah.
Also on that enlistment form, because I saw the long list of things, so I kind of like stopped it and went back to look at like what those things were, and noticed that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy.
And noticed that his birthday.
Daniel, you just step up your game.
His birthday is the 4th of July.
Isn't it July 4th? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, I mean, that might be something that like comic book fans or like more heavy duty fans probably already know, but I was like, oh, yeah, like I had no idea.
Yeah, that is cool. Like Independence Day is Captain America's birthday. So patriotic.
Following like this scene, he obviously like goes into the back alley and is like getting beat up by this guy. And they do like the first like shield,
with the trash can lid,
kind of foreshadow where he picks up the trash can and holds
it.
Yeah,
really good foreshadowing,
which I thought is just really funny. And I think they touch on it a few more times before he like actually gets his shield.
Right, like with the taxi door later.
Yeah, the taxi door later. But then Bucky obviously comes up and saves him, and they talk for a little bit, and then he's like, "Come on, like we gotta go. We have a date." And he says, "Where are we going?" And Bucky says, "The future," which is funny because they end up both being in the future.
Oh, like, yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know if that's something that was like written intentionally of like, oh, this is going to be funny in 9 years, or if it was just like, because they were going to the Stark Expo, so it like made sense also.
That is cool.
But I was like, oh, like you guys also both are still this age in 70 years, so you do travel to the future.
That's cool. I never thought about that. That's really
cool. I never do that connection either.
So that alley scene, before we move on to Stark Expo, we also have the line, I can do this all day. And I think that really kind of sets up a big thing that the director said that they were trying to do is they need you to fall in love with skinny Steve and show that he's noble before he becomes all buff and jacked. And that's like how this film is really like gonna work. And that's also a tribute back to the visual effects. Like you need to like believe this is a real person, not some like crazy uncanny valley like thing. Yeah, so let's get back to the Stark Expo.
So one of the things I like about the Stark Expo, like when we get into it, you have like that first like pan shot of obviously you see like the globe and like all the fireworks and all that stuff.
You see that suit?
Yeah, that suit with the synthetic man.
Well, someone said it was the reference to the original Human Torch, apparently.
Yep, because originally he was an android rather than being like an actual person that was affected by
like Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're all the same person to me.
Captain Chris.
He played him. So that's a little nod, I guess. That's cool.
Yeah.
Also, the Stark Expo was like all green screen pretty much, except for the stage that like Stark was on. That was actually the same stage that's the same sound stage that they filmed the Arctic in, was the stage that like Stark was doing his presentation on.
That's so weird. Yeah.
That's crazy. Like that set dressing, how much that can change everything. Yeah.
Arctic. Okay, now car time.
Yeah. But I just want to talk about like how much of a risk this was. Like we talked about setting this film in the 40s, getting that to kind of feel right. Like you can't just film it like the other MCU films have been. And Dak, you talked about this, but like it definitely feels different, but it's like a good different. The other Marvel films were obviously like in the present. And there was actually talk for this film, I'm pretty sure, that like they didn't know if they should have the film take place all in the 1940s and then like jump to the present day and like show him kind of being out of time. I'm really glad they just stuck his origin story like just in the 40s, because I feel like that needed its whole movie. I felt like it would have been rushed if it was otherwise the other way.
Yeah, agreed.
I agree. And another thing they did just with like the whole color scheme of the movie, like it has like a yellowish undertone, kind of like kind of like sepia toned a little bit, but not like in your face about it.
Right.
So it feels like it's not shot in this vibrant color palette that most of the Marvel movies
like
are
Thor.
shot in. That like the Avengers, like obviously like the iconic scene when they're circling around them and it's just like so vibrant. You have like the green from the Hulk and like blue of Captain America and the red of Iron Man and
Thor's
like
cape,
the cityscape around it and all these like vibrant colors. This movie is much more like muted and like yellow undertones, so it feels very different than the other movies, which kind of lends itself to like it's in a different time, which I really enjoyed.
Right. And a big thing that they tried to do, it was very intentional to do that with like the tone, and they also like with the props they had, like all the technology, they wanted to have kind of like, because there's some kind of pretty advanced technology in here, but they wanted to make it out of like, especially like with Hydra, but they wanted to make it out of like materials that could feasibly like be found in the 1940s, which I think so it has like an iconic look, and I think that is another thing that sells into the whole this takes place in the 1940s, and it doesn't feel like, oh, they're on a set. This isn't the 1940s.
Right.
Yeah, so at Stark Expo, Bucky reveals that he's going to the 107th, which is also, it sets up later when Steve goes to the 107th, but it's also sad because it's what Steve really wants to do. He wants to kind of lay down his life and serve his country. Oh yeah, and then we got young Howard Stark and his whole presentation like we were talking about.
Yeah, he's trying to show off this levitating car with this anti-grav like motors, I guess.
It's like 4 little engines where the tires should be.
Yeah.
It's like a precursor to like the Stark repulsion technology, I guess.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I did say a few years, didn't I?
Also, around this time in the director's commentary, they said that there's like so many sets in this. I think like they said there was 115 different sets for a 117-page script. So basically, like for scripts, 1 page equals like 1 minute approximately. So like that's almost a set per minute.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's really crazy.
And they said they only had 4 to 5 like sound stages that they were filming on in London. So they were doing like a cycle. Like they would film while like the other sets were being like constructed and painted.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they said a lot of the time the paint on the set was wet because they didn't have time for it to dry.
Oh my god.
So, like,
jeez.
That's just a crazy production schedule. And then like as soon as you leave one set, they tear it down and set up like the next set that they were gonna film. Just how much planning goes into these films is crazy.
I feel like to just be like a logistics coordinator on like a movie like this, I'm not shooting anything, like I'm not doing like, but just to be like
scheduling,
like, that would be crazy. It'd be such a fun job.
That's why there's like you see like there's like 5 producers on every movie, because like that's like what they do. Like so basically, I don't know how much people know, you guys or audience that is listening, about movies, but like I kind of had to look this up a while ago when I was getting into film. But like the director is like the creative vision, so they are like, all right, this shot goes like here, I want this story arc, blah blah blah, all the creative stuff. And the producer, it's their job to get whatever the director needs, kind of thing, and like kind of coordinate with like the studio kind of thing. So like if the director's like, I need a helicopter shot or like a helicopter for this shot, then the producer's job is to like find, all right, how can we rent a helicopter, where can we film this, get the permits, all that stuff. Can the actors like, do they need like a license to fly this kind of thing? Like it's their logistical stuff. So like producers are kind of like the unsung heroes a lot of the time of like films, because directors get a lot of the credit, which they should, but like producers do a lot too. Especially with stuff like this, these huge things that need so much scheduling.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Steve tries to go enlist again, we meet Dr. Abraham Erskine? Erskine? Well, I don't know how to pronounce it.
I'll give it to you, Jake. You're close enough there. That's pretty good.
All right. Stanley Tucci, who is a great actor in my opinion. He said that he wanted to do this film because he's always wanted to do a German accent.
Really? That's it.
Yeah.
Do I get to do a German accent? Yeah, I'm in.
Just like every movie he auditions for, like, can I do it in a German accent? And they're like, no, dude, like, absolutely not. That makes no sense. Like, he's reading for the role of Captain America. Can I do it in a German accent? No.
That'd be a different movie.
There's that one shot before he goes in where there's like the poster with the light, where you have the one army guy and it's like the head silhouette, so like his head's like it looks like he's like in the uniform and all that stuff, and he goes to enlist. And then Steve steps up and then he's like in the neck of that like silhouette, which just kind of shows like, oh yeah, he's not ready, he's not capable,
he's not tall.
even though he's willing.
Yeah, but he's just not like the ideal image, which the Dr. Abraham, whatever his name is, Stanley Tucci, sees in him. He actually like overhears that conversation. Zach, what were you gonna say?
Imagine if just the primary villain of Captain America was just Captain Germany. But
we talk about kind of how like for Marvel villains, like it's tough to find like a hero and like a villain that's the villain's just not like the like the opposite of the hero kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I give a pass on this is just like my like random thought. Like I give a pass for like origin movies, but then like after that I'm like, come on, you gotta be a little creative.
Yeah.
Which I think actually like Ant-Man 2 didn't get the best ratings, but I think I appreciate that they tried like a different villain, like different powers, like the ghost thing.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they did that. Yeah, Stanley Tucci, he overhears Cap talking with Bucky and sees like kind of how noble he is. And so when Cap is, or I guess it's not Cap yet, Steve is in the room that he's gonna get like his physical in or whatever, he comes in and starts talking to him, and I really like this whole like little speech and like how the music kind of swells when Captain America is talking about just how noble he is. He like doesn't like bullies, he doesn't want to kill like anyone, and I think that's speaks volumes about like the character that is Captain America and like his values and everything.
Definitely. But it's also cool to see like how that changes later on, where he's like, well, it doesn't really change, but like it's shifted more in a direction of, I guess, anger. Like when Bucky passes later on, quote unquote passes later on.
Whoa, spoilers.
It's been like 9 years.
Just kidding.
Yeah, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't, I guess we didn't give a spoiler, but if you clicked on this podcast and you haven't seen the movie,
Yeah.
like that's your own fault. So
Yeah. I'm going to name it something different to throw people off.
and if you've made it this far and you haven't turned it off and you haven't seen the movie, then it's really your fault.
We've already spoiled like Endgame and now we're
But no, like what I mean, like that one part where he's in the bar with Peggy later on, and he's like, I won't stop until they're all dead or captured, you know? As compared to, I don't want to kill anybody, I just don't like bullies. He's still trying to stay aligned to like his moral code, but it's also more personal later. But yeah.
I think that's something that is kind of a bit of like a through line and a through conflict for Captain America in the whole universe of just like trying to reconcile like this strict moral code that he abides by with like the super difficult circumstances that he finds himself in. And obviously like that's like a very normal like plot device in movie making, but I think that it's particular like the struggle for him is particularly well done just because it's so you can be so slow and patient with it when you have like 21 movies. I mean, he's not in all of them, but like when he probably has like 8 or 9 movies to like super flesh this out, right? And a lot of it comes like to a head later in like Civil War.
Exactly. Yeah,
but they kind of lay the foundation for that of like this strict moral code. And then he finds himself in situations that might not be as black and white as he would like, as his moral code would like it to be.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. Like, I think a big thing about Cap is like he doesn't really have many character flaws in this particular movie, which like is very strange for a movie, like for a character's protagonist. But because like the MCU is like this interconnected thing and like it's kind of like watching like the whole thing, his kind of like not character flaw but like something he struggles with is being a man out of time. The world is a lot more complicated in like the present day, and like eventually with Civil War, like the whole thing, like things aren't as black and white as you originally like think. And especially even in Cap 2 before Civil War, like with Hydra, like these are supposed to be the good guys, and like this organization infection parasite has kind of grown within SHIELD. And we talk about also like kind of how that comes together in Endgame, like how Tony and Steve like literally like kind of like cross arcs. Like Steve starts out, as we see in this movie, as like the order following soldier, will do anything because it's orders kind of thing, and then like eventually completely shifting at the end of Endgame, he takes the opportunity when he's time traveling to
goes to his woman,
finally like take time for himself and be with Peggy. Exactly.
It's like he's
get that dance.
He's the selfless one to the selfish, but not really selfish.
Yeah. Oh, that dance! I love that dance.
It's like he earned it.
I'm so excited to get to there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's a long while away.
Yeah. Well, so we go back to Hydra base in the mountains in the Alps. Dr. Zola. It's the first time you see him, and it's through that distorted
and I love how
lens
through the lens to pay homage to like how he is, like, which is also how we see him later on in
Cap 2.
Cap 2, where he's like all digitized and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then you pan over to him where he's like just using the technical equipment.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you going to say something? I thought
no, you said I was trying to remember what his name was in the comics, like the big TV face man.
Yeah, it was just Zola.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if he had a different like supervillain name.
Nah, it was just Zola.
I guess Zola's cool enough. All right.
Hello, I'm Mr. Big TV Man.
Not as intimidating. I like how Red Skull is continuing with the Thor themes of like magic and science being one and the same, except for a more evil purpose, I guess. More like world domination. imagination. Yeah, but we see here that Dr. Zola is trying to use his like machines to collect power with the Tesseract. And I really like the shot when like it pans to Dr. Zola and he's like, "This will change the war." And he's like, "No, doctor, this will change the world." Like pans past him. I really like the framing of that shot.
Yeah, very dramatic.
And also, it shows he's a compelling villain because he believes what he's doing is for the good of the world, even though just the means he's trying to get there are not the best.
Yeah, like burning the world over. He's kind of like a pre-Thanos if you think about it. He's like, I'm gonna make the world new. Like the second Thanos, I guess, in Endgame.
That's a lot of supervillains is trying to reset the world.
It's just like, why?
Not
why?
just Thanos.
Why are you making it your problem, dude? It's the world. Just let it float. I don't know. That's my philosophy. But
I mean, he's probably a cross section of Thanos and Hitler. the OG real life supervillain.
Yeah. But yeah, so then we finally cut to Steve Rogers at the army camp and we finally see Peggy freaking Carter. I love her and Steve together. They are my favorite MCU couple. I ship them so hard. And I've always said, even before like I knew they went back in time and like got to live together, I always like ever since like Cap 2, maybe between Cap 2 and 3, I was like, I wish they could have had like a life together. Like they were so good for each other. I loved them so much. And then they did, and that just it made my world.
But he also slept with her niece.
Let's not talk about that.
yeah, all the memes of like
Table that for that film.
It's a future problem.
yeah, literally.
So we get Peggy's introduction. She's another example of Marvel having the very strong female characters, which is just a good trope of Marvel. And like I like how she like punches that like kind of jerk that like speaks out against her being Queen Victoria.
Yeah, and then there's
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. What's the name of his?
Colonel Phillips.
Phillips.
They only had a few days to shoot with him apparently, but they like
really
had a lot. There was a lot of scenes with him. I don't know like how many days.
He has a lot. He has some good like one-liners, some good quips in here too.
The director commented on that. He was like, we felt like we didn't give him that many good lines, but like he has a way of delivering them that like they make him iconic. Like that's really cool.
Wars are fought with guns, but they're won by a man. And we're gonna win because we have the best man. Looks right at Steve.
And they get better. But later in the movie, I forget when it is. I think that's when they're in Austria, like when they're off in Europe during the war. He says, he's like, if you have something to say, this is a great time to keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Which I just like, I relate to so much. Like, there's been so many times I've thought that of like someone's about to say something, and I'm just like, you should just keep whatever you're about to say to yourself.
Yeah, but then we get to the training montage with Skinny Steve, and I really like the flag scene where like he knocks down that flag.
That was iconic.
Like he thinks out of the box, and that really speaks to his character and like kind of makes him stand out because you got to think like because his character Steve Rogers has lived his whole life as being this skinny, not physically able person, he has had to think like out of the box like that, and that's a great like visual representation of that, and I feel like he carries that over when he becomes all buff, and that kind of makes him like a very well-rounded like superhero that he ends up becoming kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
It also dawned on me during that scene that it reminded me of the scene in Mulan with the training montage of I'll Make a Man Out of You, and you have to like climb and get the arrow.
Yeah.
It's like there should be a supercut version of this scene with that song being played because Disney owns it all. So Disney make that happen.
That's fine.
True.
So basically you're telling me if I do this I only get sued by one company, right? But yeah, also so the actor that's like, Rogers, I said fall in, that was actually an extra from like an earlier like army scene, and he did like such a good job that they like gave him that part. So I don't know how you'd be like a good extra, but like I want to do that.
Good for that guy.
Yeah.
He was doing jumping jacks in the back super hard, and they're like, this guy, we need him.
It's also really funny. There's a lot of like behind the scenes that I was looking at, like right before this good like grenade scene that's about to come up. Steve Rogers like doing these like horrible push-ups. It's really funny to see like the behind the scenes because it's like jacked Chris Evans pretending to be horrible at push-ups, and it's like you could do like 20,000 of these fine.
I could have got hired for that role.
My grandma has more life than you.
Yeah. I don't understand the whole dummy grenade thing. Like, it's this part where, like, Colonel Phillips and Dr. Ernstkind, whatever, are talking about, like, who has the most, like, guts or whatever, and, like, who has the heart of a soldier. And he throws that dummy grenade. Like, wouldn't you not want your super soldier that you're putting, like, millions of dollars of research into to just willingly jump onto a grenade and, like, put all that research to crap? Like, that's just my thought. I understand the motive behind it, but, like, I don't know if I want that.
It did seem like a little heavy-handed. Like, you can probably come up with a better way to demonstrate that he's selfless.
Yeah.
But also during that grenade scene, you'll notice, if you watch it back, they cut to this angle once he's, like, falling onto the grenade, and Peggy is also running at the grenade.
I did notice that.
And I was like, aw, that's goals. Like, they would both just totally jump on a grenade like they're meant for each other.
They'd catch a grenade for each other.
Another supercut. Do another supercut of that.
Yeah, another supercut. Wait, no, but then I could get sued by Bruno Mars and Disney. I don't know if I could do that.
Does Disney own Bruno Mars, maybe?
I mean, I would not be surprised. They'd own everything. But that's a little scene that happens. And then we cut to the scene in like the little cabin where they're about to share a drink together, but they can't really share a drink together. It's a good little exposition scene. He's kind of explaining what happened with Red Skull, like how the serum amplifies what's already in a person, like good becomes great, bad becomes worse kind of thing. Yeah, that's kind of like what makes Steve special is he's just not special. He's a kid from Brooklyn. Like Spider-Man almost.
Oh, whoa.
Some parallels. We'll get there eventually too.
In a few movies.
That's the future. Yeah, I also think it's funny that like Cap can't drink. He's about to pour him a drink. That would have been his last drink that he would have been able to like feel.
Oh.
That's kind of sad.
Wow.
Dang.
And he didn't even know.
He never knew.
Ugh, that's the actual worst part of this movie.
Yeah, that is. That's the biggest tragedy. Not Steve losing everything at the end of the movie when he like goes to the future, but not being able to drink ever again.
If you lose your opportunity at your last drink, isn't that already everything?
That is the end of everything. Yeah, you're right.
You lose like the only coping mechanism that us like straight white men have.
Exactly. If I were to jump 70 years in the future, that would probably be the first thing I do to cope, but you can't.
Exactly. We don't learn how to deal with our feelings. We just drink instead.
I wonder if, in Ultron when like Thor has that like really aged like drink that he pours that like Stan Lee drinks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Does that get him drunk maybe because it's so strong?
Maybe they have to
to
make like special drinks for him because
Yeah.
I think at one point he says that like, or Peggy tells him like his metabolism's like 4 times faster. So if you just drink something that's like 4 times stronger, then like wouldn't you be square?
Maybe. Just normal.
You're just drinking hand sanitizer at a party.
Dude, what if you get into a drinking competition with him and just like not know that like he's Captain America? That'd be rough. I feel like Chris Evans just normal, like a normal human could still beat me at like a drinking competition.
Oh, without a doubt.
He's also like in real life, he's like a super like party guy. Like he's like the only one in the Avengers cast. Like I love getting eventually when we get to Avengers and Ultron, like seeing those cast interviews when they're all together. They're like such a good like fun group of people that like hanging out with each other. And like apparently like Chris Evans by the end like of Ultron, like after they've done this for a few years, he's like the only one that doesn't have a kid or anything. And so like he's always the one that's apparently like, all right guys, let's go out, let's hang out. And they're like, we have responsibilities. I think that's funny. It's like it's also like such a stark contrast. Stark, get it? Because Tony Stark. To like his character, like Steve Rogers, who's like not that. Props to his acting chops, I guess. Oh yeah, so then we cut to Germany again. This is when Schmidt's being painted. We find out that he gave the order to kill Dr. Abraham Stanley, whatever. I really like the silhouette, like with the Alps in the background, and you just see the silhouette of the Red Skull. It's like Hugo Weaving just holds that performance like at like such a high way. It looks really cool.
Yeah, and then the artist that's painting him, like they show his color palette, and it's like only red.
All reds. Yeah.
I also like the artist only has like a few like seconds, but like his expression like says a lot. Like he's just like he looks like
he does not want to be there.
Disgusted. He doesn't want to be there, but like he has to and just accepts it.
It's like this sucks.
Yeah. What has my life become? I went to art school for this.
Oh, Jake, don't even go there.
Yeah, Daniel. Maybe that's what you'll learn to do.
Ooh, too soon.
I mean, Daniel, if you get to in a Marvel film, yeah. So then we cut to Peggy and Steve in the car. I love this scene as well because it sets up Peggy and Steve, their relationship, and it shows that Peggy starts to bond and I don't even not like get attracted to, but like relationship starts building in the car before he's buff. Like I don't think the Peggy Steve stuff would have worked if she didn't fall in love. Like we have to fall in love with skinny Steve before he becomes buff. I don't think it would have been believable if like all of a sudden she starts liking him when he's buff. Like she starts like to relate to him in the car because they can both bond over kind of being in a place like testosterone like filled men society when like Steve's kind of like the runt and she's obviously like a woman in a man's world kind of thing. So they kind of bond over that. And I think that's done very well in this scene.
Definitely. But I also think that I mean, this is definitely the start of like the relationship, like you said. But there's also like she's been watching him and observing him, like as we've seen like him through all the training and stuff before.
It's a little creepy.
Well, yeah, but
no, I know. I'm kidding. Yeah.
she's obviously showing that she has interest.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's romantic interest, I'm not saying, but she's obviously intrigued by Steve at the very least. And then this car scene's like the first time that they really interact. Like Steve said, this is the longest conversation I've had with a woman. So it just further builds that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that primarily in any movie makes relationships like that work is like a tension between the characters. And oftentimes, like, once that tension gets released from the audience standpoint, it's just like no longer really compelling.
Right.
And that tension never like really fully gets released.
Resolves. Yeah.
Which is why I think that like so many people, and like you said, like this is your ultimate, like your favorite relationship.
Yeah.
It's just because like you permanently live in that tension. You never get the release of them like being together, or like sometimes it's like just like sleeping together once, or sometimes it's like they start dating.
Yeah.
And then kind of like the tension and like the interesting part of that relationship from the viewer's side is just gone.
Yeah.
And so you don't think about it in the same way. And one of the reasons that this works so well and is just like lives in time and just like still so many people's favorites is because there's only ever tension. Like that tension never gets a full release.
Yeah, I completely agree. Very well said. But yeah, after this whole like car scene, they go to the like that like bookstore or whatever, and I really want to see someone just like a really paranoid person like walk in and then like lovely weather we're having, and they just have an umbrella and they're like, oh yeah, but I always carry an umbrella, and then they just get access to like a government base.
Yeah.
And because they're like the person that literally carries an umbrella like everywhere, they're already, you know, they're super paranoid, and then they see this and they're like, what the heck is happening?
Be gold.
I just want to see that. But also that the old lady like behind the counter that like lets them in, that's reference to the like one of the first Captain America comics. It's actually in the comic, it's Peggy behind the counter, and she has like a fake old lady mask on, and then she like pulls it off and she's like, hey, it's me.
Whoa.
Peggy.
Oh.
So that's a cool little nod for that.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It actually just is old Peggy, and that's how she dies, because she time traveled with Steve.
Oh.
Shoot.
Whoa.
You're blowing my mind.
Fake canon. Hashtag fake canon.
But yeah, so they get access to this government base, and then they walk to the procedure room where we meet the senator and the person from the State Department that is not actually
Spoiler.
from the State Department. Yeah, spoiler.
He's an evil boy.
He's a heckin' Nazi.
This is also the scene what we were talking about earlier, like the muted colors and stuff. This scene really stands out to me, like with all the greens.
Yeah.
In like the procedure room, and like the technology that like is like advanced, but like
It's still analog.
like the valves and stuff like look like yes, exactly.
Well, and also just the general shape design.
Yeah.
With all the, for example, like the capsule, like the beveled curves and stuff like that, and the degree in which like they arc around.
Bevel, what a good word. Yeah.
And like you were saying, like with the displays and all the different controls and stuff like that.
They used paint that was like specifically like favored in the 40s to paint a lot of this set.
Oh, so there's a lot of lead in it.
Which I think is really cool. Yeah, and I'm also worried like did they all get lead poisoning from this? But you know, it's whatever.
Yeah, we also built all these sets with asbestos.
Yeah.
Just, you know, to go with the time.
Yeah.
We're trying to be as authentic as possible here, okay?
That's why most of the cast didn't return for Cap 2. Like, it's only the elite that survived.
It's definitely not the time jump. They had to time jump because so many people were lost.
That's why the Russo brothers came on. The director couldn't come back. He was too sick. But yeah, the procedure, like, starts to begin.
Well, we should also mention that's Tony.
Oh, yeah.
That's, like,
it's not Tony.
been leading. Well, not oh my god, Howard.
Jeez.
I made a big jump.
Man, that guy can't get out of his son's shadow.
Oh my goodness.
That's like the opposite of what you think.
But no, like Howard's been the one leading for all the technology for this experiment, stuff like that.
That's also like gotta be, think of like Steve, who's just like this kid from Brooklyn, and then like that'd be like if Elon Musk is like coming to do your procedure. Like, that'd be really cool.
All right, let's give you a new robotic arm.
Yeah.
I don't know why I went like British for Elon.
I'm gonna turn you into a Tesla. What's up?
Yeah. You're the first Cybertruck. Get ready.
And then you become a superhero, and you're just like part Autobot Transformer.
Yeah.
But you're a Tesla, and you're just like
I would do that.
your name is just like Tesla Man.
You're sent out to Mars to like terraform.
Your one key weakness is just that like you're electric, so you got to recharge yourself.
I'd rather do that than have to drink gasoline.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Put that on the.
I don't know why those are my two options.
Put that on the Twitter poll.
Yeah.
If you were an Autobot in the Transformers,
Would you
rather rather
plug in,
have to charge yourself every 3 hours or drink gasoline?
we drink gasoline like once a day. Wow. Yeah. Back to the tank, I think. The procedure starts, and there's a Dutch angle when Howard goes over to like turn the vial, and I had PTSD to Thor. I was like, no, not again.
Oh my god.
I can't do this. Then also there's a continuity error, apparently the director pointed out. So like when Steve goes in, he's strapped in with a leather belt around his waist, and when he comes out, the belt is just gone. But I like to think that he became so muscular, he just
popped
broke
off
the belt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's not continuity error. That's exactly what they were going for.
Yeah, it's intentional. I want to see the alternate universe where, so you know how they like stop at 70% and then they're like, wait, cut it off. Like, what if they actually stop? And he just gets out. He's just like a normal guy.
No. He's not a normal guy. Only 70% of him is huge.
Yeah,
So,
like his right arm is just like normal.
His
like,
right arm
skinny.
is just like completely normal.
It's like half of his neck is
Still
like
skinny.
buff, the other half is like still the skinny neck.
No, it's the thing you were talking about. Where, like his head is still small, but like his rest of his body is jacked.
Apparently, the neck is the last thing, or the neck is the last
Head,
thing below.
yeah. I want to see that. That's another edit. Someone's got to do that. There's so many edits we got to do for this. Yeah, but also that capsule that like comes up, like they actually like built a capsule that like mechanically like moved up and like closed, and I thought that was pretty advanced,
Yes,
pretty cool.
practical sets.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, practical. Christopher Nolan would be proud.
I know.
But, oh, dude, this shot when like it opens up, just the music. The first time you like really hear the Captain America theme, like powerful. The music, the bod, everything. He's so jacked. Oh my gosh.
Jaeger, you all right there?
I don't know. I need a drink of water.
Got me some type of way.
Yeah. So he was saying like this was like the shot that they like Chris Evans was like working out for, and like I think it paid off. But apparently like between every take, he would go when they were setting up the camera, he would like do like 50 push-ups between like every take.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Just like to have that extra pop, and like I think it paid off.
Usually when they do that stuff too, they'll like I don't know if they used it for this movie, but I imagine they did. They have people that like have like
Yes.
spray bottles of fake sweat.
Yeah.
That like somebody's entire job is just to like sweat.
I saw a meme where it was like someone saw the behind the scenes for like I think Zach Efron. They were like, I want that to be my job. Like it's just that's my whole career, just spraying beautiful men with water or oil or whatever. Also the next part where like everyone's like, yeah, it worked, and then everyone comes down. The shot where Peggy like touches his chest or like reaches out to like,
she's like, ooh.
that was actually like not planned. She was literally so in awe and like taken aback by his body, like she just like instinctively did that. Like that was not scripted.
That's funny.
At all. And they liked it that they kept it in. I think that I love those like little things that get left in movies. Also, why did they leave one extra vial? Like,
Yeah, I didn't get that either. It's just like, okay, we're going to use them all, and then here's one extra.
I guess it was the 40s. No one cared about like sanitation and like thought ahead or anything. I mean, remember the paint and everything.
Maybe the batch was just like, you get like a certain volume, so it's like baking a cake or something like that. So you need to have like so many other things to get like 13 vials, even though you're only going to use like 12.
You're comparing Captain America's serum to baking a cake.
Is it not the same thing? Isn't that thing just a big oven? And when Chris Evans, like obviously he was born premature. That's why he just didn't get cooked long enough.
Yeah, exactly.
So they just finished baking him.
Yeah, they just need that pod.
When he opens up, it's like you get that little oven, like the easy bake oven, like the ding.
What if you overcook him? Does he become too jacked?
Oh,
Like
they missed an opportunity to have like an oven ding when he was done cooking.
it's like ding ba 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 ba.
Just
Another edit.
it's like truly in the score, like someone just like hits a triangle.
Yeah.
Da, da, da,
Dude, what if you were the guy that did that triangle? You would forever be known. Oh, I want to do that.
So iconic.
That's so great. So then the German quote unquote Secretary of State guy, whatever.
Mr. Nazi.
Yeah, he takes the vial and blows up the top room and shoots German accent man,
Oh my god.
the scientist.
What was the point of blowing up the top room? Everyone had
I
left.
think it was like a distraction,
But-
probably.
But like,
I mean, he just stood in the middle of everybody, shot
so
him.
he could grab the vial. But like, I feel like he could have easily snuck over to the vial and grabbed it like stealthily instead of like doing that whole thing.
Yeah, the distraction seems just like not necessary at that point.
Yeah, but you need to like, I don't know, get the tension up, I guess. I really like how Peggy gets a shot off and actually hits the guy. Again, showing the strong female Marvel characters, like not the whole like damsel in distress like cliche, I guess. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She can hold her own. I feel bad for that old lady who gets just gunned down.
She gets blabbed.
Yeah.
you mean older Peggy?
Older Peggy. Oh shoot, is that how she
Oh,
dies?
no.
That's sad.
Oh, God.
I didn't even think about that when we thought about that.
But that's so in character for Peggy too. She goes out shooting.
Yeah.
She got that Tommy, and she goes.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that's true.
She goes out shooting.
Man, this theory has some like meat behind it.
She's like, I gotta continue the continuity. I can't speak. I gotta keep the timeline. That's what I meant to say. I don't know why I try to get all fancy.
yeah,
with it.
maybe there's a Peggy, like this Peggy sees this old Peggy, and then she like, what if she changes the timeline and like she survives? She just like hides.
Or
know.
maybe she goes back to change the timeline to intentionally die right there, because if she stops him and shoots that guy, then Peggy and Captain America never have that moment where he saves her and she's like, what the heck?
Oh my gosh.
That's like a major foundation of their relationship.
Yeah.
And then they never end up together.
Captain America, like, he wouldn't have gone to the future. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So she had to for their love. So she sacrificed it. It's like Romeo and Juliet. Oh my gosh, they're the best couple. You can't tell me they're not the best couple.
So yes, it's exactly like that, because she thought he was dead, but then he wasn't. So then she
my
killed
gosh.
herself. Dear lords. Shakespeare
Oh my
tropes
gosh.
in this? Wow.
Yeah. Oh man, I need to.
Only the best from Whatever We Want podcast.
Yeah. This is a great episode.
High level analysis.
Yeah. So the guy goes outside after killing old Peggy, rest in peace. He gets in the car and Peggy, young Peggy, I mean, it's distinguished now, shoots the, I love that she gets that like snipe off and gets the driver. I'm sure the driver wasn't happy that she got that snipe off. Then they crash. I love the taxi driver. Like, he's like so slow to like the conclusions. He like gets out of his car.
Hey, what are you doing?
He's like, oh my gosh,
Hey,
this
guy's
been
shot. His taxi's gone.
Meanwhile, the guy has like stolen his car. Yeah.
Like, does that line need to be there? Do we need to know that the taxi driver has realized that somebody's been shot? Or can they just steal the taxi and go?
Maybe if it wasn't in it, like the rest of the timeline would have been messed up again somehow.
See, the taxi driver didn't know what was going on because it's like GTA.
That taxi driver is Captain America going back to fix the timeline.
Yeah. I also like this scene. This scene is really good. It shows like it's an immediate way to show like Steve's new like strength and ability. Instead of like having to do like maybe like another training montage of like testing and stuff, but like this really shows like his speed, his strength. It's really cool. I also like in the behind the scenes, Chris Evans has feet boots on for the whole time. I don't know if you guys have seen, like, if you look up Chris Evans feet boots, like it's actually kind of freaky looking, but like he has like these like boots on and it looks like a pair of feet because he like had to protect his feet from like running on the glass and like the pavement and stuff. It's kind of freaky looking at.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at him. That's disgusting.
Yeah. Chris Evans did a lot of his own stunts because people literally could not run as fast as he could, like his stunt doubles. So he had to like do it.
Just do it.
So Zach, I feel like you could have been Chris Evans' stunt double with your long distance running.
I think I should have been Chris Evans' stunt double for so many
Yeah.
reasons. One,
Yeah.
I nailed the skinny Steve.
Yeah.
Two, the scene where you were talking about him not being able to like do push-ups. That's true of me. I literally like I wouldn't need to fake that. Like that's reality.
Dang.
And then three, I can do all of his running. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I really hate in movies. My backup career option for myself is to be like
Yeah.
the consultant for running in movies, because
Yeah.
it's
Dude, I know it
so
was-
bad when people are like trying to look like they're running fast. It's
Yes.
atrocious. It's so bad.
Have you seen the Flash in Justice
Oh my
League?
goodness, I hate
Oh my
that.
gosh, yes.
He's like crossing his arms. I hate that so much.
His arms are like spaghetti. Like he literally does like a waveform through his arm as he like throws himself forward. I'm like, bro.
Or just like anytime anyone in any movie is trying to look like they're running fast, it's just so bad. It's so bad.
And like, have you seen the Flash TV show?
oh, actually, Loki loved those.
I just like I like the beginning. I think they kind of got lazy. Like I saw some behind the scenes for that, and like they apparently said that like they now like just have him move his arms. Like he doesn't like actually move his feet. So anytime the Flash is actually running, and like you only see him from waist up, you just know it's him just moving with his hands.
That's hilarious.
Like up and down. Yeah.
But like cross country movies and like running movies,
Yeah.
the running just doesn't look real at all.
Yeah.
And that's just like a big problem. That's my biggest gripe with Hollywood right now.
So yeah, if anyone from Hollywood's listening,
Mark that down.
Zach is open to be a Hollywood consultant for running.
Running
so,
consultant, professional running consultant.
Yeah, reach out to us. We'll get you in contact.
I love how it's not the CGI, it's not the plot, it's not even like the overall, it's how they run. That's your biggest gripe.
That's 100% it.
I honestly think Chris Evans did an alright job.
No, he did.
It takes me out of it. Chris Evans did do better than most do, but there's so many movies where it just takes me out of the movie.
Yeah, definitely. But you got to think for Chris Evans, like I feel like it makes makes sense if he's a little clunky running because
For sure.
he literally just gained 70 like plus pounds, if not more, of pure muscle, and he probably doesn't know how to control like his
He
body.
definitely doesn't because he ran into that window.
Yeah,
He can't bank that turn. It reminds me of like when kids hit puberty and they like don't know how to use their like limbs and appendages yet. It's so funny because I had that problem.
Yeah, at least he got to skip like all the like annoying like parts of puberty. Like he just went from step 1 to step 2, none of the like in between.
I wonder if like if he just has like crazy body hair problems after that now.
Yeah, what if his body hair grows 4 times as fast too?
Oh my gosh.
Like, he has to shave like between every scene.
Like a 5 o'clock shadow, but it's just like it's like before lunch.
Yeah, it's like, have you seen that scene, the Santa Claus with yeah, where like he just like looks down, looks up, and his beard is back. It's like that. But yeah, this chase scene, back to the tank, is going on. Enough about beards and running. So this was actually filmed, so you know how like it's like going through like the city and stuff like that, like London, whatever.
Well, no, this was Brooklyn.
They had one.
They're still in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it was filmed in Manchester. They only had one block to film in, so like they literally would do like a take and then like him like jumping on the car or something, and then like they would have to like redress all the shops to make it look like it was a different place, and then go back to the end of the street, like end of the block, and then do another block, and then they did that like a lot. And like that's crazy. Like I honestly didn't notice it was the same block, but also like I'm not really looking at like the background.
And also, a lot of the buildings are like designed relatively to have the same architecture. So if you are just using the same street, literally, I mean, it also just works.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you think about just like city blocks, especially in that time period, it's just like rows of townhouses and shops.
Yeah.
But I guess this is pre like unlimited Disney budget for these movies.
Yeah, this is the Paramount one.
So it makes sense. It's kind of nice. Like you kind of like go back to the roots when you watch these old movies and you find out things about this. It's not just like
there's definitely a quality change.
We can throw as much money as we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This budget was this budget was 150 million, I think, which is like obviously a lot of money, but like compared to the Marvel movies now, like it's not that much. Like I think Endgame Infinity War was a lot more. Actually, I was reading up on the actors' salaries and stuff, and I think Chris Evans for this got $1 million like for this film, Captain America 1, and now ever since I think like Civil War, he gets like $15 million per Marvel movie that he does.
Dear Lord.
Dang.
It's a lot of money. And like Chris Hemsworth for Thor, he got only 100, I mean, not, I'm gonna say only, but like for the main actor of a film, like this is a little for a high budget movie, but he only got $150,000 for playing Thor for the first time.
What?
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's great. And now he gets 15 million as well for every Marvel movie he does.
There we go.
Yeah. Talk about a glow up, man, for salary. All right. So yeah, that chase sequence. So yeah, it happens in Manchester, like a lot of that one block. And then they also like cut back at one point to like when they're along the river. That's in like that's on the Universal lot in LA. So like in California, and like that's just like a seamless cut in my opinion. Like I did not notice that was a different place.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, seriously.
I was actually on that lot when I was in California last semester. I contacted a alumni from my school, and he like works for Universal, and he let me like tour the lot, but like not like the one you like pay for, but like he literally like took me and like showed me the studios and like let me get lunch at like the Universal cafeteria, and I saw where The Voice was filmed. It was really cool, like that lot.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, and like I saw like the actual tour that like had to be like stay on the bus, like drive by, and I was like,
losers.
I actually saw a guy from Marvel that I met up with. Like I had lunch with him the day before, and then I ran into him at the Universal lot, which was kind of weird.
That's awesome.
Don't mean to brag.
No big deal.
No big deal. No guy from Marvel. It was cool.
Yeah, okay, so Mr. Guy Jake knows from Marvel, get these super cuts in for us, please.
Yeah, please. Help us through the copyright red tape we gotta get through. Yeah. But yeah, so Cap gets on the car and then is flung off, and like the car like crashes, and somehow Cap is okay, like gently like rolls to safety.
Superhero roll.
Yeah. He picks up the taxi door, and that's another like shield foreshadowing like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool. And then the guy snabs. I was trying to say snags and nabs, and I said snabs. He snabs a kid, a hostage, and
Steve's like, no, wait. I also like how in this shot, like he's hiding behind cover, of course, at first, but then as soon as he sees that the kid's like in danger, he makes himself like an obvious target.
Yeah.
And then luckily there's no bullet.
I love the kid. It's okay. I can swim.
Really the most useful hostage ever.
Yeah, seriously. So then the guy jumps into the sub, and one of the I don't know which shot, but one of the shots is a completely CG sub, and then they go underwater. They had to do the shot of him taking the guy out of the like cockpit and then pushing him up. They did that in only 3 takes because the actor, like not Chris Evans, the other actor, like the Hydra guy, he was afraid of the water. Like he has like aquaphobia or whatever.
Oh, really?
Maybe he shouldn't have gotten that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so we need you to be inside a submarine, and then you're gonna get pulled out of it. Wait, what?
I think the director liked that actor or something.
Yeah, but I'm claustrophobic and afraid of the water.
Yeah. I like how he like throws him out of the water, like onto the
like up onto the ledge. Yeah.
Yeah, the vial breaks, unluckily. The guy bites out his tooth and kills himself, commits seppuku. And then, yeah, Steve, like, kind of admires his muscles, and that's all we see. Then, we go back to Germany.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
The Red Skull is getting chewed out by the Nazis,
Yeah.
the 3 Nazis, for not delivering the weapons that they promised. I love when he, like, counts the people, like, right before he shoots them. Like, he's warming up the gun, and he's like, 1, 2, 3, and then he, like, shoots them all.
I didn't even notice that, but yeah.
The editor actually commented that he liked that, too.
Is he just like programming the weapon?
Yeah.
On like how many targets? That's funny.
Yeah. Also, before they get to like the main room with the gun, when they're walking around the base, like the Hydra base, like in the halls, they only had one hallway with one corner for the set. So they literally just like filmed them walking around the same corner a bunch of times, but it looks like they're just like navigating through like like a maze.
Jeez.
Now, also imagine if the laser gun didn't work. You know?
Yeah, that would have sucked.
Yeah.
It's like sputtered out.
Berlin is on this map, and so it is. Why? You'll be tested for your crimes. Sorry, you're not supposed to be here anymore. Give me 1 second.
I mean, I feel like, as we know, Red Skull's like super buff and
Yeah,
like,
true, he could've just-
strong and has the super soldier. So I feel like he could have just like manhandled them.
True.
Yeah, and then Zolog gives this look of like, what have I gotten myself into? And he's just like, Hail Hydra!
Is the double arm Hail Hydra distracting to anybody else? Like, it just seems
A little bit.
it's like a little like laughable to me. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm glad they stepped away from that in like Cap 2 and they just went to the whisper, like the Hail Hydra.
well, that's probably because you also can't just like openly hire
Yeah,
people
yeah,
true.
anymore, which is probably a good thing.
In the present day.
But just like the double arm thing is just like,
I think they wanted to not do the Nazi salute, probably.
Let's double
so they
it.
were like, what's similar?
oh, it makes sense.
Let's do
Double. It's double.
Twice the pride, double the fall. Yeah.
But no, I agree. They definitely probably didn't want to do the Nazi thing straight up. So they're like, yeah, let's just change it up a bit. So I think, yeah, it is obviously much, but you know, it's 1940.
Because like, imagine if you're holding something, right?
like,
Just drop it.
I gotta.
You're just like a normal Hydra guy, and you're just on your lunch break, and like Red Skull walks in and hits you with a Heil Hydra, and you're just holding like
Take your lunch.
You're holding your newborn child.
like a glass of
Yeah.
iced tea and a sandwich, and you just have to like
You're holding your new whatever we want mug, and you're like, oh no.
you're brand new. Congratulations to
Dora Courtney and Logan Baker.
you're holding your whatever you want mug, and you just like have to double Heil, and you just like pour this hot coffee all over yourself, and like launch your sandwich into next Tuesday, and you're just like, damn it.
What if you don't have arms?
I doubt they're gonna take you,
Yeah,
knowing
for
of what I
Hydra.
know of the Nazis.
Yeah, that's true.
The actors for Hydra actually like they wanted them to be intimidating, so they had to be like 6 foot something and like a certain
I
weight.
thought you were about to say they had to have arms. I was like,
That was also a criteria. I don't think they overtly said that.
I don't know if it was explicitly stated though.
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I guess that makes sense having them be big boys.
Armed.
Yeah, arms.
But yeah, that's a quick little Hydra scene. I also like the director intentionally said that the entire film is told from Cap's perspective, except for the like Hydra Red Skull stuff that's told from his perspective because they needed to set him up. Like there was actually one scene that showed a deleted scene that was Bucky and the Howling Commandos before they were the Howling Commandos at war, and it was supposed to parallel between like when Steve is like the showgirl kind of thing, and then like shows Bucky like actually in war, but they cut it because it felt weird because it's like the only scene not from Steve's perspective.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a good call.
It's funny seeing all the like the lead scenes. They didn't have the finished visual effects, so it's like a PS2 like Hydra tank coming up, and Bucky's like, "Oh no!" But yeah, we get back to
Brooklyn.
to the U.S. Stark is dissecting the sub. The actor for that played Stark was actually British. I thought he did a really good American accent.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I'm always surprised at actors' American accents. Is an American accent just like that easy to do?
I don't know.
Like, are we just that basic?
Probably.
Because people do them really well.
If anyone's from a different country, let us know.
Yeah, to all of the whatever we want listeners abroad.
Yeah, we have one. I think the statistics said we had one from like Guatemala. So like, I don't know. If you can do an American accent, let me know.
Yeah, leave a review on Apple Podcasts telling us how easy it is to do.
Or how hard.
Right.
But yeah, so this place that they're dissecting the sub, it's the same set, like the same room as the map room that we later see when like they're laying like out all the Hydra bases on the map. Yep. Good set dressing again. Yeah, and then so this is where Steve gets recruited to sell those bonds, becomes the theater kid.
Is this also the scene, or did that happen at the end of like the chase scene where he's sitting with Peggy and they extract his blood?
Yeah, I think that's
for like
here.
future testing.
Or maybe that's not here. I don't know.
No, that was before this.
Yeah, I just like thought that was interesting because like obviously like this was the beginning of like the weapon program that goes on to like make Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
So
and the Hulk.
And yeah, well, Hulk kind of, right?
Yeah, well, they were kind of trying to mimic the super soldier serum. They say, like General Ross says, Banner was just like an accident. Like he got in a gamma explosion, so like it kind of didn't go well.
Yeah, but so I like to imagine that like those serums, like one of them becomes Deadpool and like one of them becomes Wolverine, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, like the Weapon X program and everything.
Especially because we're like at the time of recording this and coming out, we're like kind of waiting to see how the X-Men are gonna fold into the MCU.
Right. Yeah. True. And Fantastic Four and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and we know that they might recycle Deadpool. Like Deadpool might stay intact,
right,
the way he is, but we're not exactly sure how.
There's like rumors.
We're not exactly sure how all of this fits in, and I think that this could be like a great way.
Yeah, like a tie back,
continuity wise.
Yeah.
To just be like, oh, like here are.
This was always planned.
I feel like the best way for them to do that would be through Multiverse of Madness when they actually start getting like multiverse stuff, because then you could say like Deadpool and like other characters.
Yeah.
It could be from like a parallel universe, something like that. So then you're like, there's like some kind of merger or something like that.
Multiverse of Madness. Can you please refer to his mom?
Yeah, so mom comes in and she just tells everybody what's up, you know? Hey, you guys get along together, you know?
Yeah, remember we got Mom and Thor. Thor.
Yeah, Mom is definitely going to serve a lot of exposition, but I think that just like whenever they are working on this weapon program, making Deadpool and Wolverine, however they decide to like portray that in the MCU, like they can use these like the same props or like this serum and like refer to back.
Yeah, definitely.
Like refer back to this scene, which would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree. That would be very cool. So, long story short, Caps becomes a showgirl. I really like, they said this was a way that they were able to incorporate like an actual, like completely like comic accurate suit into the film and just show how ridiculous it is and like why they're not going to go with that later in the film. And it also like gives a reason why he like in the later film like has like an army uniform that's like red, white, and blue and like all like done up and stuff, because it's reference and like emotional attachment to like how he started in this like theater thing. The director of photography also agreed with that statement.
It also provides like an explanation for there to be like literal comic books in this movie of Captain America, because it's like war propaganda, which like totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And it just kind of is like, oh, like these comics were written to
sell bonds.
Yeah, sell bonds and drum up support for the war, which is just, I think it's a really, really neat way to like fold the actual like literal, like there's a literal comic book, like not it like in the scenes
so meta
building up.
Yeah. That was actually like the comic book that the kids have. It's like actually like one, I think the first Captain America like actual comic book, except they took Bucky off of the cover because Bucky wasn't a thing in the like MCU version yet.
Right.
Yeah. So there's this whole montage of him like knocking out Hitler a bunch of times in the theater. That was the same theater. Like they had one set, so they just like had to change how they hung like the drapes and stuff to try to make it look a little different.
Yeah, makes sense.
There was also a shot in this of him like walking along with like a group of like random soldiers and like a film reel, which is then like mirrored later in the exact same way that he like walks with the Howling Commandos, which I thought was really cool.
That is cool. He has his own like film that gets made and stuff, so that shows like a lot of time has passed that he's been doing this. Then
I think it's cool because he starts off as like he's playing a character, and then he becomes like throughout the rest of the movie he like actually becomes this character that he portrayed for so long.
Icon, this legend. That's very cool like arc.
It's kind of like the reverse of most like legends, where it's like there's a little bit of truth and then it kind of gets blown up into it, whereas like this one started as like completely fake and then he just kind of like
grew into the
shaped it into something real.
I also like it has the original like shield, the kind of like triangular-esque not round shield, which actually that was how it started in the comics. And I think they said that like some other character or some other copyright thing had just come out that like had a similar shield in the comics. They eventually changed it to like the circle shield. They realized like Stan Lee was actually the guy that came in, I think, and potentially changed it. And then he was the one that actually started writing Captain America using the shield like as a weapon. So that's kind of how that came about. And I also like how we see that kind of transition in the movie as well.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good old Stan.
Good old Stan Lee. Also for the dancers, they like only had I think like 20 dancers. So like there's like one final shot before he's talking to the 107th, not 501st. That's Star Wars. There's like 60 dancers on stage, and those like they only had 20 dancers. So they literally like the director said like if you like pause and look, each dancer has like a triplet. So I was like they Oompa Loompa the dancers.
That's amazing.
Just copied it. I mean I didn't notice. I thought that was
Yeah, no, I didn't even notice either.
pretty cool.
But it makes sense, you know, save money, save time. Also, I guess if
Live
you
better.
time it right, Walmart. But no, because then you got already all your feet in sync, you know, so also kind of makes that easier as well.
Yeah, what if one person was off and you just notice that like every third one is off or something? But yeah, so then I really like the cut, like the hard cut from him dancing, like holding the motorcycle, this final big shot, and then to him speaking at the 107th. Like we were talking, the color was very muted up until this. And in the theater scene, the colors are very vibrant again, and then it drops back down and is very like muted again. And you can sense the tone shift when he's speaking to the 107th, and they're not really receptive, obviously.
You see it like instantly, literally just with the what you're saying with like the color change, and not only that, but also just also like how his uniform is sitting on him, because it's like his cap, I guess that's what it's also like all like kind of like off and on the side, stuff like that. And he's like, who's ready to
volunteer? I need a volunteer or something.
Well, there's volunteer, but he said something about like hit Hitler in the jaw or something like that, and then like nobody was like
sock old Adolf in the jaw.
Yeah. Also, this location that he's speaking to the 107th, that's the same place as the opening to Gladiator. That was filmed the same location.
Whoa!
That's pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, all right. So I love learning these little tidbits, and I'm hoping people listening are enjoying this. But like, this is like really always been kind of like a dream of mine, is to go through all these Marvel things and like learn all these little facts by like watching the director's commentary and stuff. And like this podcast like gives me an excuse to do it pretty much. So thank you for listening.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Love that movie.
Yeah. Back to the tank.
So Steve, you know, he abides by the 107th, and he gets the showgirls come back out, and then he's on the side.
Peggy finds him,
drawing himself as a monkey doing little tricks.
Yeah, which isn't that drawing in a later film?
Yeah, it is. He actually saves that.
Yeah, I think he put it in his.
It's like on his desk.
It's like in his Avengers room or something like that, in Civil War or something like that.
But yeah, Peggy finds him and
talks some sense into him.
Yeah, she's like, "You're meant for more."
Which she brings out the best of him, because they're the best Romeo Juliet relationship ever.
But they see that there's some soldiers that were messed up, and they're like being hauled back in to like the infirmary and all that. And that's when she tells him.
He finds out it's the 107th, which is where he realizes Bucky's here. Also, this scene, it was raining, and they wanted it to rain during this scene, and it was like the only day during production that like it actually rained like in real life. So it was like perfect timing. Just lucked out, I guess.
Pretty neat. I mean, if not, I'm assuming they would have had it set like some kind of rig with like some kind of like hose and sprinkler.
Yeah. So Colonel Phillips says that Barnes is a prisoner of war, and there's not going to be a rescue mission. So Cap decides to go after him. And actually, the director's son was in the background. He said of that shot, he's one of the army soldiers walking around. If I ever make a movie, I want all my friends and family to be extras in it.
But this is also when he makes the line, "If you have something to say, it's a perfect time to keep it to yourself."
Yeah. This is a great line.
Yeah. And so Peggy and Stark end up helping. Stark is the pilot. I like the whole fondue thing.
So do you two fondue?
They start getting shot at, and Cap jumps out of the plane.
The hell I can't. I'm a captain.
With a parachute this time.
Yeah, with a parachute. Well, he's kind of landing on land.
Yeah, not water this time.
I mean, I feel like from the height, from like when he does it in the second movie, it still wouldn't matter.
It should have been concrete.
Yeah. Yeah, so he lands behind enemy lines, and he starts going in towards this Hydra base.
Yeah. So the prisoners in this Hydra base are like they're helping build weapons and machinery and stuff, and then they go into these like circular cells. And so this was actually like a chemical factory where they filmed. Giant chemical vaults were those like giant like circular tubes, and they took those out and put in like a fake jail cell. So that's why it's like circular.
Huh.
That's kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always like the aesthetic of it, because usually you'd think it like, oh, it's like jail square, but then this is like, I mean, no, it was like more dynamic.
You're such a square. You're in jail, dude.
But no, like it was more dynamic, not only because it was the circular shape, but also due to the two levels of it, which you get later when like Cap beats up the one guy above them, and they're like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah. So Cap sneaks into the base, and he gets like into that car. People always ask like, why did only one guy check his car that he was in? And I don't know. I don't know if I have a reason for that. Because there's like 5 guys at the next car down. Maybe like they had some heavy stuff in that one shipment. They didn't have anything heavy in the other shipment.
You never know, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they're Hydra, you know? If they need more help, they'll just get more heads to take its place. So that's all you gotta do.
Yeah. So, like we said, Cap knocks out that guy and he lets the prisoners out. The alarm's going off, like, once someone notices, like, the alarm starts blasting. And then you could hear, like, during one of the panning establishing shots to, like, get into the next scene, there's one guy that says, "On your left." And I was like, oh, it's foreshadowing for the line. Maybe. Probably not. For, like, Cap 2 and with Sam and everything.
Probably not.
It's the same thing with the older Peggy.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Someone had to go back and say that.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed in this scene, and I actually ended up like pausing the movie at this point to like double check to make sure J.J. Abrams was not the director.
Oh, the lens flares. I know.
Yes, the lens
Yeah.
flares on the Tesseract. Oh my, anything.
No, yeah,
It is.
they intentionally did that.
It's out of control, but it's out of control.
Yeah.
It was so distracting.
They actually said like they were thinking of J.J. Abrams when they did this for everything that the Tesseract like was a part of, like the energy, like they wanted to have a lens flare so that like you knew it was like the Tesseract. I was like, I feel like the blue is doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lens flares were out of control and so unnecessary.
Yeah, it's nothing compared to like anything JJ does though. So
No, not even close. Like any
Yeah.
like the new Star Trek trilogy.
Yeah.
But like I understand maybe you want like a lens flare on like one of the bigger ones, like the actual Tesseract, or like when it's powering like the plane, like you can put a lens flare on that. But like
Yeah.
every little gun and every little like laser that comes out of the gun
Yeah.
does not need its own freaking lens flare. Oh my
the
god.
like palm-sized thing.
Imagine the effects guy has to go in
Ugh.
and put all those in. He's like, another one?
Another
And then
one.
the director's like, yes, more! And he's just like, okay.
He's like, I could do this all day. But yeah, so Cap sends the prisoners out to like escape, and then he goes to find Bucky, who has been experimented on by Zolog.
Zola.
Yeah.
Did you just call him Zolog?
Zolog? What? Whatever. Zolog actually, when he's leaving, he picks up a bunch of papers, and if you like, apparently if you pause, I didn't actually see, the director said that one of the things that he picks up is a picture of him, like a drawing of him as like comic accurate, like TV head thing. So that's a cool nod, I guess. And Cap sees the map of the Hydra bases and has like photographic memory, I guess.
His memory's 4 times better now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's as if he like looked at it 4 times as long, I guess.
Everything's just 4.
Yeah. Sebastian Stan, I feel like he looks like he put on a lot of muscle between this and Cap 2. And also hair. A lot of hair in between.
Oh yeah.
Definitely hair. But I guess it makes sense if you turned into like a murderer assassin for like decades.
Also, they were planning on having Bucky survive the fall. Like, obviously, it was part of the comics, but like literally during this scene, the directors, when they were talking, they were like, yeah, whatever Zolok did, like it allowed Bucky to survive that fall. And I was like, wow, they spoiled that like back in Cap 1, I guess.
Wow, seriously, yeah.
Yeah, we get to the Hydra tank. That we start seeing the Howling Commandos kind of like working together. It's cool little moments. I love the guy with the bowler cap, like the cap and the mustache.
The mustache.
He's a cool guy. His name is Dum Dum, actually.
That's amazing.
Like that's his name, and he looks exactly like the actor looks exactly like the comic.
yeah, I mean, it's there. You can see it.
Dude, it's a mustache. He said he was filming an interview for the like the DVD release that I was watching, and he like shaved his mustache off like 2 days before like filming his interview, and he said he felt naked without it been a part of him. But yeah, so we finally see as Bucky and Cap are escaping, and then Zolog and Red Skull are escaping. The protagonist and antagonist meet for the first time on that bridge.
Well, also, Red Skull was able to see that Cap was invading the base.
Yeah, it was enhanced. He's like, I'm gonna blow up the base.
Yeah. It's time to blow everything up because, you know, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And then, they get up to, like, the rafters and then they see each other and, like, hello, Captain, yada, yada, yada. I'm Red Skull.
Is that your German accent?
I'm not going to do another accent. You saw what happened
Yeah.
in the Air video.
Yeah.
And then yeah, he does the classic like villain monologuing because like
Yeah.
you have to have a monologue.
You got me monologuing.
But yeah, this is where he does the face reveal, which I gotta say, out of, like, YouTube face reveals,
Those effects are good.
this is, like, top 10, honestly.
Well, actually, so first but Cap punches him.
You can see the red. Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks like they're gonna fight, but then Zolog like separates the bridge. And actually, there's a deleted little take where like Red Skull's like mad that Zolog like brought them apart, but they cut it. But Red Skull, yeah, he takes off his face. So the way they did that, they started. His face is CG in the beginning when he starts pulling it off in the very beginning. Then they cut away, and then as they cut back, it's like halfway off, and that's actually like a prosthetic, like fake Hugo Weaving head. And then he throws it into the fire, which is also really cool symbolism, like him throwing his like literally his old past self like identity like into the fire. He's like reborn as Red Skull like permanently. That's his only identity now.
Maybe he just got so tired of it. Like, maybe he was like super itchy. He's like, you know what? It's just time to go.
It's not symbolism. It's just itchy. Yeah, but yeah, that was a cool effect with the mask.
Yeah, so they escape.
Red Skull goes to the roof, and so you know that thing that Red
Yeah.
Skull gets in, like the plane thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like an actual design
Yeah.
off of like one of like Hitler's things?
It was actually like German engineers in World War II like actually designed that, but not a single one was ever built.
That's crazy.
And so they just like took reference for that.
That's so cool though.
Yeah.
One other thing that I took note of in this like prison break scene is when some of the prisoners, and I think they end up becoming Howling Commandos, that like jump into the Hydra tank and they're like leaving. First of all, that's awesome, but they asked this one guy about like if he speaks any German, and he says that he took 3 semesters of German when he was at Howard, which I thought was really cool because usually when they try and portray people as like super smart, they say like they're from like the Ivy League, like they went to like Princeton or Yale or Harvard or something. But Howard is actually an HBCU, a historically black college in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
So I thought that was just a really great call out to have like a black character be like, hey, like, yeah, I'm really smart and I got really smart at like an HBCU. And I thought that was like kind of relevant for the times that we're living in right now. But this is
definitely
like made in 2010, released in 2011.
Yeah.
And it's something that, like you can kind of gloss over and miss pretty easily.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a really great call out. So
that's really awesome.
Shout out to Marvel for putting that in there and not just doing like a dumb Ivy League trope.
Like Harvard. Yeah. That's really cool. I did not know that. Very cool. Yeah, so Red Skull escapes on that plane. Zola goes to the car, which was actually like a 25-foot car that they built. It was huge.
Jeez.
Yeah, and he drives away in that. Bucky takes his freaking sweet time crossing that beam, and then Cap has to do the world's longest long jump.
Yeah, why did Captain America never participate in the Olympics?
Yeah, seriously. It's probably the whole Spider-Man thing, like, he didn't play it before, he can't play it now, like, just because I'm different now.
Like Dash in The Incredibles.
Yeah, go for second place.
I guess that also that super soldier serum is totally just a PED, a performance enhancing drug.
Yeah, just permanent.
Yeah.
And
does it show up in your urine? Like, would that show up on a drug screening?
Maybe, like, what is this blue liquid in you?
Is your piss just blue now?
Yeah.
Like, that's the secret. They kept taking his blood to replicate the serum, but they should have been taking his urine.
Yeah, you're right. Have you seen the new Paul Rudd thing, like Living with Yourself?
No.
Okay. Well, it's Paul Rudd, like, playing himself twice, and, like, he gets cloned, and once he gets cloned, like, after the first procedure, like, he pees, and he's like, the people say, like, don't look the next time you use the bathroom, and, like, he uses it, and, like, his piss is, like, rainbow. So that's what I'm just thinking is Captain America.
His urine would probably have a lens flare, though, too.
You're right. It's the Tesseract.
It's just, like, glowing.
Oh, gosh. Okay, let's move on from this.
Back to the tank.
So, yeah, like we said, Cap does that long jump, and then it cuts to Phillips, who's writing, like, a message. The typewriter guy, actually, apparently, Colonel Phillips was getting upset with the typewriter because he kept messing up and, like, jamming the typewriter, so he was kind of annoyed. Yeah, and then Captain America just, like, walk back. He's like, that's right, I'm alive. I got everyone out. No rescue mission my rear end, huh?
He's like, I'm going to offer myself for disciplinary action, and then, you know, because he's going to try to be the good boy.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, not necessary. You got your dudes.
The editor actually said that this scene was a lot longer and there was a lot more dialogue, but they cut a lot of it because the action spoke for itself, which I think is a big thing in filmmaking, that it's like the golden rule people say is show, don't tell. If you can show the action happening on screen, that's a very good example of that. There's a lot of films that like over expositionize, I guess, if that's a thing, like their films, and this scene is an example of just cut it if you don't need it.
Yeah, you don't want your viewer to just be like drowning in dialogue that they don't really have time to digest anything that's like actually happening on the screen.
Yeah. And a lot of beginning writers, when they're script writing and stuff, it's tough to move away from dialogue because you're like, oh, I have great dialogue, I want to get out, but like you need to know like when to cut it, and sometimes when you've worked so hard to like perfect something, it's tough to cut. So like just kind of getting out of your own way.
Yeah, I think this might be a good place to note too that I wrote down, and this could be a hot take, but one thing that I think across the whole MCU, and it showed up to me in this movie too, is like I'm a big sucker and like kind of a nerd for like film scores.
Yeah.
And to be honest, aside from like the main theme, like the Captain America main theme is good and the Avengers main theme is like pretty iconic. Outside of those two things, like the score in the MCU and this movie especially is just like, it really leaves something to be desired. And I was kind of upset by that because obviously like I think that music makes like a huge impact on a movie, and they have like a decent score writer, and he does like, there's like some continuity through a lot of their movies. He's worked on some other other big projects, like I think he did Forrest Gump, which has a great score, and Back to the Future, which has some iconic themes in it. But I just felt like this wasn't his best work, which is kind of sad. Whereas like some later MCU films where they actually end up using different score writers. Black Panther uses one of my favorite composers right now. His name is Ludwig Grossman, I believe. Yeah. He's really, really good. He does a great blend of like modern stuff with like film scores. He did the new Creed movies as well. Yeah. And then obviously like an absolute classic of like Hans Zimmer does great work too. But I just feel like I don't want to say that they like cut corners or like budget saved with their scores, but I do feel like in a universe that this is this big, they could have done a lot better and a lot more with the score.
That's interesting you bring up. So when the Avengers theme came out, like obviously like ba 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 ba, it wasn't that iconic for me when it first came out, but because like over the past like 10 years, like it's been drilled like every so often and like with all the marketing, and then like there's been like 4 movies with it. Like now I know it's like this iconic thing, but like up until like Infinity War came out, like I don't think I really was like, if you told me like sing the Avengers theme, like I don't think I could. I think because it's been played so much now, it's like iconic to me, but like I don't know. I have been listening actually to the scores a lot when I'm going back and doing this, and I like a lot of the things that they were doing. Like with Thor, I think I commented on it too, like kind of the whole magical thing. It's different, but I agree, like definitely like there are better scores out there. Like I think they could have done something different, but like I'm ultimately like happy with the product, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's so lax that it's like distracting.
Right.
There are movies where I'm like, what? Like it's like it takes me out of it. It doesn't do that for me here, but I just feel like there's so many areas where they could have used the music to portray like some deeper emotion that they just kind of missed out on, and just kind of like cop back and like fall back to like the main theme, like the main Captain America theme.
Yeah, the main Captain America theme was used a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I just feel like you can portray so much deeper emotion other than just like ba 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 ba.
Yeah. Daniel, anything you want to say about that?
No, I pretty much agree with what you guys are saying. I mean, like there's room for improvement, but also there's points where what you were saying, Jake, where sometimes it takes time for things to become iconic, where it's like you don't realize it until it becomes a bigger thing.
For Avengers, yeah.
Yeah, but definitely there could have been, like what Zach was saying, where there could be more emotional connection.
Yeah.
So it all just depends on how you use it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Anybody that's a big movie score buff like me, I'll do a quick plug for Hans Zimmer. Literally goes on tour with his film scores and like performs them live.
That's sick.
So I actually got an opportunity to see it in Philadelphia when it came. It was amazing. So he's done movies like the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar.
Oh, Inception.
Gladiator that we talked about earlier.
Jeez.
And so he tours live with those, and it was one of the best experiences of my whole life to see live. But if you don't get the opportunity to see it live, it is also on Netflix. It's called Hans Zimmer Live in Prague.
Really?
They have a recording of it, and it's absolutely stellar. I would recommend it. All those movies I listed, plus more, like Pirates of the Caribbean, The Lion King, all done by Hans Zimmer and performed live with him in person, is just stunning.
He's on tier with John Williams, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
That's really cool. Zach, do you want to hit us with a Back to the Tank so you can get your bingo board?
Back to the tank.
Bam. So, the Senator, he's trying to give Cap the medal. We get the Stan Lee cameo. Stan Lee wanted his line to be longer. Like, what else would you put in there? Oh, and also the guy next to Stan Lee, he was the actor that played Captain America in the 1979 film and the sequel to that film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Huh,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then we cut to the underground, to the map that I was talking about earlier. And in the establishing shot,
Map, yeah.
when they're in London now, the director's daughter was in that scene too. She had like a red hat on or something. He pointed her out. Oh, also, speaking of the black character you're talking about, I think his name is Gabe, who like went to the school and spoke German and stuff. He, in the comics, was originally, so Stan Lee wanted him to be black when he was creating the characters and stuff, apparently. So he wrote the comic and sent it off to the illustrator, and the illustrator thought it was a mistake. So he filled the character in as like a white guy, and when Stan Lee got it back, he was like, no, I want this character, like this character is black. So they got it fixed. Like, so Stan Lee specifically made this character black.
Wow.
So that was an interesting fact. So we get to the bar scene where he's forming his team of howling commandos, and so the bartender actually is the Skinny Steve like double that they used for a few shots.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you see Captain America twice in that shot.
Hello, Cap. How are you doing, Cap?
Or is that time travel?
Yeah. Oh shoot.
Oh, jeez.
Does he go back in time and give Skinny Steve the time travel equipment so that he can go forward in time and watch his future self become Captain America so that he can go back in time and show the correct qualities to become Captain America.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say that he needs to get him set up. That way he's able to give himself a drink. That way he's then able to recruit the Howling Commandos. Because they won't do it if he doesn't get that next round, you know?
It's true.
The next round is the sole reason.
There's just one timeline where Cap's still waiting for the bartender, but he just never shows up.
Germany wins the war.
Because Captain America didn't get the second round.
Yeah, the Howling Commandos just refused to work with him. You never got us a second round.
Literally no way, dude.
But I like how Bucky says here that like he's not following Captain America into battle. He's following his friend from Brooklyn, the kid who never stood down from a fight. I like that.
Wholesome.
It's good. It's a good line.
But also, I feel like Bucky, you got to think he's an interesting character to play because like he's used to being like, and this is exemplified in the next part where Peggy comes in. He's used to being like the whole like ladies man thing and like women fall at his feet kind of thing. And then he's got his like dorky little friend Steve. And now Steve is like the main event, I guess. And he's kind of now becoming this wingman like unintentionally. And like obviously that's probably got to be tough, but he's also he wants to support his friend, and he does obviously. Another thing, in Civil War, there's like a little exchange when the Quinjet that I think is a little kind of nod to this. Winter Soldier and Captain America are talking, and Bucky's like, remember when we went to that fair? Who was that girl? And then Steve is like, her name was like Dolores or something. And that's like a quick little line, but my dad pointed out, that just shows again that like Steve is still like, he's the kid that wasn't big and muscly, so like he took the time to like remember a girl's name, and he like respected women and stuff. Not that Bucky doesn't respect women or anything, but like Bucky was kind of like, he had women all over like falling for him, so like he didn't bother to like remember her name kind of thing. So I thought that was a cool little potential connection.
Yeah, there's a little psychoanalysis in that. I like that.
Yeah, that was a long spiel. Sorry about that.
Which then leads into Peggy being in her red dress, coming in to talk to Steve and tell him that he's got some equipment rating from Stark.
Yes.
And that's when Bucky's all like, I'm invisible.
We should go dancing.
Yeah. And then she's like, the right partner. This is a callback to her thing with Steve earlier.
I like Hayley Atwell. I think she does a really good job. I think there's like a Agent Carter TV show, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there was. It was like one season, I think. And then
I didn't watch that. I hope maybe we should watch that maybe.
right now with the final season of S.H.I.E.L.D., with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yeah.
they literally just brought back some characters.
Don't spoil it.
I'm not spoiling it.
This is actually spoilers. This is not 9 years old.
No, like that's all I'm gonna say. Like,
Yeah.
They just brought back some characters from that.
But yeah,
That's it.
like you said, Howard Stark is messing around with the Hydra tech. And it actually really reminds me, like, when he has those, like, the two claws coming in. It reminds me of and like, looking through the glass of the scene it with Tony Stark is putting...
like building the gauntlet
putting the stones...
or putting the stones in.
Endgame. Except this time it explodes in his face.
Write that down.
Yeah. Ugh, I hate the secretary that gets in between my Peggy and my Cap. Why?
Jake, I feel like you're like you could be emotionally attached, but I feel like you're like really emotionally attached to like this
Boo
ship.
to the secretary. Boo.
So that secretary like really took me out of it for a second because this is the Game of Thrones cameo I was talking about that neither of you will understand apparently. That is Natalie Dormer, who plays Marjorie Tyrell on Game of Thrones, who's like a super main character that was like very prevalent, and she's in like a lot of the show, and this is like before she kind of like got her big break.
Yeah.
And so like she comes up on screen, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's freaking Natalie Dormer, and I was like just totally taken aback by that. So anybody that's listening to this that watches Game of Thrones, big Game of Thrones cameo there, and apparently they haven't seen it. So
my aunt will really appreciate that. That's cool. Well, boo to her.
boo.
Jake's like, that's great. Get her out of here.
That's great. She's garbage. Put it in trash.
Also, in that establishing shot, apparently the British flag was hung upside down on accident and no one noticed.
Isn't it symmetrical?
That's what I thought, but apparently not. Like, the director said that. That's why I guess no one noticed, but like, I don't know.
Like no Americans noticed, but like a British person might notice.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I guess I just always assumed that was symmetrical. That's weird.
Yeah.
And then we get to Cap getting his new shield now. I'm glad he didn't pick any of the really funky shields.
Yeah, there were some cool designs, but it was like obviously you had to go back with the classic one. So it also makes you think, like, if you're going to use like a really expensive metal like vibranium, would you use it on one of the super fancy ones that literally has like a glass screen to look through and like a gun built into it, or a frisbee?
Hey, maybe also while young skinny Steve was like time traveling, he also made sure the vibranium was used for that shield.
That's a good point.
Well, that's something I want a spin-off movie for, like a real spin-off movie, not like, oh,
Yeah.
we need a spin-off movie. Like, I actually want like an Indiana Jones style spin-off movie of Howard Stark like obtaining this vibranium.
That'd be cool.
You can use like King T'Challa, Black Panther's dad,
Yeah.
like as like a young version of him,
Right.
And kind of that would be such a sweet movie.
And like a young Michael Douglas or whatever from Ant-Man.
Yes. Oh my god.
I want to see the spin-off people have said, and I kind of think would be cool, is the adventures of Cap returning all the stones after Endgame, like running into Red Skull on Vormir. Like I saw a thing where you know how he goes like Natasha, daughter of son of.
No, I was thinking of Steve, so I was like,
daughter of. I saw it was like Steve, son of a gun. You're alive. But yeah, so he gets his shield. Peggy shoots at him, and then we get the Howling Commandos. That little montage of taking down the Hydra bases, fighting the war, and there are a lot of kind of funky VFX going on here.
yeah, there's some spots that you're like, oh,
Like when he jumps off the tank, that was a little.
Yeah, that was a little much. Yeah.
You could see where like it cuts. There's like a jump cut, like from him jumping off the tank to then like running midair.
Yeah, I think in these scenes, another thing that we talked about, like you said earlier about how like the Tesseract kind of gets like a nerf in the later movies.
Yeah.
So do the shield sound effects.
Yeah.
Like when the shield's bouncing off shit, and like when he tosses it, it's got amazing sound effects on it.
I know.
Yeah.
And it just gets like a total nerf in the later movies, which I'm pissed about because they were so cool.
They still come up, definitely. Like, it's still there, but yeah, definitely, like, it's, like, quieter, not as noticeable. I actually wanted to talk about the shield sound effects. Like, it's, again, a tribute to, like, the sound design. Like, there's no magic metal that, like, really sounds like that, like, magic shield that, like, you can have too much reference to. But, like, the kind of, like, ring they have to and the vibration, like, it really, like, it's iconic. And I think Captain America's shield when I think of that, which is, like, crazy. It's like Thor's hammer, almost. Like, with the sound design. Not, like...
Yeah, I guess it's like, not like with the magical powers and the enchantments and like, you know, the flying and all that.
I mean, like, it comes back to him. It's kind of like doesn't obey the laws of physics.
That is true.
Also, like, if it says, people say, like, and I also don't really understand this, but like, it like absorbs vibration. So wouldn't that mean like it wouldn't bounce
at all
off of anything?
Yeah.
It would just like hit the wall and fall straight down.
Yeah. that less visually exciting.
And that'd also mean like it wouldn't make sound either, because it would just absorb all the energy that would be turned into sound.
I want to see that cut of the movie where he throws a shield and every time it just like falls to the ground.
We should get. Did either of you guys take physics or AP physics when we were in high school?
Yeah, with Mr. Wagner. I think Mr. Wagner listens. Hello, Mr. Wagner.
Oh yeah, Mr. Wagner. We need a like in your physics class, like a in-depth breakdown.
Yeah.
Of Captain America's shield. And this is, for those of you who don't know, this is totally something that he would do. He loves doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's like one of my favorite teachers all time.
Me too.
Because he like is so passionate about his teaching and loves to like talk about things like this. And it would be great. One of my favorite classes in high school. Loved him. Great teacher. So yeah, big shout.
Yeah.
And let's dive into the physics. Maybe we can have him. You guys should have him on an episode of the podcast for the physics of the MCU, and you can touch on.
We always say we're not a physics podcast. Maybe one episode we will be, and we just have Mr. Wagner on and just explain everything.
We always say that, and then we always go like on these tangents
to talk about the physics,
like trying to explain the physics.
I think you guys should bring him on the podcast to talk about the physics of all of this stuff.
Yeah, like he totally would do it. Like our first like lab that we usually do is like you calculate a projectile and like try to make it hit a stormtrooper head. Like that's like the first thing you do every for the class.
You're just like launching this little ball out of a cannon, and you have to hit the stormtrooper on your first try to get an A. And if it takes you like 2, you get a B. 3 is a C.
Yeah,
I love that project. That was so fun.
Yeah. Oh man, that was great. Nate and I were partners for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Daniel, you were there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good group. It was a good class. All right, back to the tank. Physics are for another day. We'll just assume that the shield is fine and can
bounce and make noise and things.
Around. There's actually like a lot of variations, like I said for Thor's hammer, but for Cap's shield, like they have like the hero one that's like very heavy, like actually like metallic and like shines off. There's a rubber one that like he would like use to actually hit people with,
like throw people.
Yeah, and then there was like a kind of a more lightweight like frisbee like one that he would use to throw, but often like he would just be throwing nothing. Chris Evans was like very instrumental, they said, in like figuring out how Cap would throw his shield, like how that would look. And like if it didn't work because like he was literally throwing nothing, like it wouldn't have worked. Like he props to him for like making that look good. Throwing nothing.
I want Captain America on our old high school cross country team's ultimate frisbee team. I want him.
Dude, I would be scared to throw anything or to catch anything he's throwing at me.
Yeah, it would just be like the ultimate, like everyone just run all the way down the field and Captain America is gonna throw it.
He throws it at like the enemy team, that way it like ricochets and bounces off of them.
And then Tyler would just jump up in his like 6'8" 6'6", like lanky arms.
Yeah.
We just have Tyler and the high jumper. We just have him jump up there and grab everything.
Yeah, dude, Tyler and Cap on a team would like
Deadly.
be unstoppable. You know, that'd be really cool to play just this frisbee with Chris Evans. Anyways, back to the tank. So, getting back to the whole montage, Peggy is in Cap's compass, which is sweet. Starts winning her back from the whole makeout thing with Game of Thrones lady. At this point, Red Skull is like getting upset. He's like, "You are failing.
You are failing." That's like my family's one of our favorite parts of this movie.
I think you're gonna say something your family says to you.
Well, you wouldn't be wrong there either. But no, seriously. So it's it's like one of our favorite moments because it's like such a dramatic, overdone like close up, and it's just like, "You are failing," and then it's like, "We fought to the last man." Evidently not. Just shoots the last guy. Just cause.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was a little heavy-handed for me there too. I was like, okay, like we get it.
We get he's a bad guy. So this actually is a good spot. They talked about the behind the scenes for Red Skull. So like you got to think like he has like prosthetics on, and it's really good like silicone prosthetics. And it was like 6 pieces, I think. He had to wear like a bald cap and then like attach all the Red Skull stuff. But like obviously Hugo Weaving has a nose, so like they had to remove his nose from every shot, which is well done. Has like that nose cavity, and it took 3.5 to like 4 hours every day that he needed to use that like mask to put it on. So like that's crazy.
Jeez,
that's a lot of time.
Yeah,
there's a lot of time.
Really makes you want to maximize your shots for that day then. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know like what time they started because Hugo Weaving's like a big actor. Like I know like if it was like a relatively unknown actor, they'd probably have them like come on set like super early so they could start shooting like really early. But like for Hugo Weaving, I don't know. I don't know if he like wanted to sleep in or anything. But here we get to the train scene. We've been talking for a long time about this.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a long episode. I'm sorry.
Wow. Yeah, I just looked at the clock, like time of day clock, and we've been on for a while.
Yeah.
2 hours, 21 minutes, and 30 seconds.
It'll be cut down a bit, but yeah. Yeah, so the train scene. Dr. Zola's on the train. The behind the scenes for them like ziplining down is pretty cool. Not really cool. It's a giant green screen and then a green zip line, and they're just going down. That's it. At this part, like they get onto the train. Bucky and Cap get separated, and then they have like a little skirmish, little battle. I like the sound of like the Hydra guy that Cap is facing. It sounds like Iron Man's arc reactor like charging up kind of thing before he shoots.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually
the big boy that Cap was fighting actually comes back, and then he's like, "Wah!" and like blows up half the train cart that's behind him.
Yeah, and Bucky picks up the shield.
Oh yeah, it's true. Bucky picks up the shield.
Foreshadowing, just because in some iterations he takes up the mantle of Captain America in the comics.
Yeah.
Bucky
He's on the edge.
doesn't die. He falls off though.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Cap's like, "No, cry face," and then he's mad.
Well, then Dr. Zola is captured.
Yep.
Colonel Phillips gives him some dinner. Tommy Lee Jones.
I think it's funny how he's like, "I don't want to eat this," because he like sees that there's like the stretcher bed, and he's like, "Oh, there's blood on the floor. They're going to kill me." And then, and then it's like, "Oh, he's offering me dinner. It's poisoned, obviously." And then he just starts eating it, and it's just like, "Oh."
So the director commented in this scene that like this is probably his favorite scene of the whole film because like both those actors like know how to listen, because like obviously part of a conversation and communication is talking and then also like being able to listen. And like that's something that actors a lot of time forget. They just go like from line to line to line, like beginning actors. Mm-hmm. These actors both like knew how to like intently listen and like react off of each other, and it makes the scene more tense and just exciting, I guess, to watch.
I never really thought about that, but yeah, I guess that does make sense. Is that because it's like you said, if you're just reading off the lines, it can get pretty bland. But like here, there's actually a lot of like the way that Zola like reacts to Tommy when he's trying to like pick at him. You know, he's like, "Because he can." It's like, okay, we get it. He thinks he's a god. We know how you feel about it now as well. You know, it's very subtle, but it also helps with that.
Yeah. He says his target is everywhere. And then we cut to, what's his face? Red Skull. And does that whole speech and then the Hail Hydra thing with the 70 people doing double fists in the air that Zach likes a lot.
The million cherries.
The million cherries.
Imagine if all of those Hydra agents were cherries instead. That's what we could have right now.
Dang. Then we cut to Cap, like we said earlier, like drinking, but he can't get drunk. Peggy comes to
console him.
Yeah. It's the same bar that the Howling Commandos originally were set up in. Yeah. And like you said, Daniel, Cap is pissed and wants to avenge Bucky. Oh man, Avengers foreshadowing. So then they start going to the Hydra base. Like Cap goes in his motorcycle, and there's a Wilhelm scream here. I liked that a lot.
Love those.
I've rewinded and watched that like 3 times.
And then turns into straight up like Hagrid's motorbike from Harry Potter when he hits that like turbo mega boost.
Yeah. There's so many gadgets.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And like,
This is bike.
how effective is shooting flames out of the back of something at accelerating you? I would feel like not.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
Physics. Add that to the list for the physics podcast.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions, Mr. Wagner. But yeah, so he does like get into the base with this like Inspector Gadget motorcycle, and he takes down like a buttload of guys, and then eventually is captured, which I think was like his plan. So
Yeah, it was.
it's fine. And then he's talking to Red Skull, kind of like their last like talk before their big fight later. But again, he says he's nothing special. He's just a kid from Brooklyn. I also really like how Red Skull and all the German people, they say like schedule. It's like schedule.
Schedule.
I really like how they say that.
Yeah.
But stick to your schedule.
Then the Howling Commandos come in and through the window.
Which makes you think, okay, like they knew where that window was, so why didn't they just go in there earlier?
Yeah, why did Cap need to go in ahead of time?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, it's like the episode 6 Luke Skywalker's plan. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's just fun to watch.
It's just we got to move the plot along here.
Yeah.
So this is how we're gonna do it.
Yeah. Honestly, they probably just wanted Cap and Red Skull to like have a quick moment to talk again before. Like, that's probably the reason that is there.
True. So the commandos come in through the window. Red Skull starts to get away.
Shoots his own guy.
Yeah.
I like the disintegration effect also from the guns that we see a lot here because a lot of people die.
Yeah.
Get disintegrated.
Yeah. Red Skull gets on his ship, starts taking off.
Yep.
And also, like, Peggy and the reinforcements come in and, like, raid the Hydra base pretty much. I also do not like the janky VFX again of Captain America, like, Tarzaning on that
like
chain.
running in the hangar. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and it's again the Captain America theme. Ba, 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 ba. Whatever.
It was a moment.
And then it doesn't even cut to him landing. It just cuts to him running again. Like, that was kind of a jarring cut, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, no, same. It's just him running forward after the thing, and it also looks kind of janky.
But now we're coming up to a part that I'm sure Jake is a big fan of.
Yeah, I know. I have it in
Yeah.
my notes. Peggy and Steve kiss, all caps. Yay! So happy.
All the Captain Americas say yay. And then another great quip one-liner from Tommy Lee Jones. I ain't kissing you.
I'm not going to kiss you.
Yeah. So good. Steve gets on the ship, and now we're into the third act fight, the final boss battle almost. First, Steve has to drive some bombs. I think it's weird. I saw how it should have ended for this, and like, why are the names of the cities in English? Like, they're German.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
I mean, the German people speak English too, so it's just for like simplicity's
Yeah.
sake. Americans that probably don't like reading subtitles.
I mean, technically at this point, they're also just Hydra because they broke off from Germany. So
They're still
like,
Germans.
we're superior. We can do multiple languages.
I saw
Huh.
how it should have ended. It's pretty funny. Like, it's like the guy like with a paintbrush in his hand. He's like, "But sir, why do you want them in English? We're German." And then it's Red Skull just freaking out, like, "Don't question my vision. I'm one with the gods." But yeah, then Cap gets on a bomb, and it's freaking gruesome when the guy gets shredded up by that propeller.
Yeah, that was crazy.
yeah, that was crazy. It just was like puree. Like he had just been put through a juicer.
Yeah.
Will it blend?
Wow. The answer is yes.
Also, just like the little fight like with him and like the three other guys before that, where like he's fighting the two,
Throws
and
the
he
knife.
picks up the one knife from the other one, yeah, and throws it. That's pretty sick. But yeah, then he like crashes the plane back into the main one.
Yeah, luckily it didn't blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at the boss battle now. They apparently set up the whole like ship on like a giant gimbal. It was like 14 feet in the air, so they could like
Rotate it and stuff as it was like falling.
rotate it. But apparently they like, didn't need to do that. Like they barely used it, and that it was actually like a huge production cost that like could have been avoided.
Practical effects, please.
Yeah, because they said they would have rather done it like with camera, like just tilt the camera. But that was like Dutch angles, no. But yeah, so I love right before they start the battle, Steve is like apparently the worst at like responses. Red Skull's like, "You don't give up, do you?" And then Steve's like, "Nope." And then it's like the battle like just starts. I was just like, is that really it? Is that's gonna lead into this giant finale?
It would be like if Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon and like his first words were like, "Cool."
Land.
Yeah. No, it's like it's at the end of Endgame, it's like, "I am inevitable," and it's just like, cool. Like, nope. He goes, "Nope," and then snaps.
Another supercut of just like
yeah.
iconic lines, but with like what regular people would have actually come up with at the time.
Yeah, just on the spot.
Like you don't think of that super sweet quip or that iconic
Yeah.
line until like later that night when you're laying in bed and you're like, ah,
Yeah.
I should have said this.
I literally think about that on the podcast. Like, I was on my run today and I was like, oh, I should have said that during the Thor podcast. And like, it's already been like 2 weeks since like it's out.
There's a supercut of movies where during like iconic line moments, you just say like, cool.
It's the Kevin speech from The Office again.
No, but then like later in the fight, you're like, oh wait, hold on, let's pause. I thought of a cool comeback. And then like,
Yeah, wait. What I meant to say was.
yeah. But anyways, so this battle happens. I like, so when they are fighting on the ceiling, when like the plane starts going down, they actually had to redress the set again. They flipped everything so that like the ceiling was the floor and vice versa. Just a lot of work into just designing this set.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan would just put it on a twisting like that hallway and just flipped it upside down.
That would have been cool.
That was great.
So eventually Cap throws his shield and it hits Red Skull and he breaks like the Tesseract like power source, and then he picks up the Tesseract and like gets transported away to Vormir. We find out
I also like how they kept the effects because it had the same like light and stuff like that from like the
Bifrost.
Einstein Rosa Brit. Yeah, from the Bifrost, which is just
Yeah.
wormhole. So it's cool how they kept that.
And then it just kind of like melts through the floor.
Yeah, like it hasn't melted really through much before, like anything
Yeah.
before that.
That's why I was kind of like, is this something that's supposed to?
Is this new?
Do I know about this?
Yeah. And then Peggy and Steve are talking.
Oh, here, Jake, I feel like you're getting really emotional about this. Are you sure you're ready?
I'm ready. I'm getting emotional about the cinematography.
Maybe Daniel should walk us through what happens here so you don't, I don't know. You don't want to get your mic wet with your tears.
I want to comment on the cinematography because like we talked about it a little bit in one of our Star Wars episodes, but like they're like facing each other in their frames pretty much, which is really it takes a lot of planning, but it's also really cool. So like Peggy is looking left to right on screen, like in the frame, looking towards the thing she's talking into, her like walkie-talkie, whatever. And then Captain America, the way he's framed, he's looking right to left past camera as he's steering this plane. So it's almost as if like they're looking at each other while they're talking, which is just like something so subtle that not a lot of people will notice. But like if it wasn't there, like if they're both framed to the right, it would look weird and not feel good.
Agreed. Good call out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And it adds to the emotional connection that Jake feels whenever Captain America and Peggy are saying their goodbyes.
He doesn't want to step on her what? Her what? Yeah, so saying their goodbyes, and they schedule a rain check for their dance. They have a date next weekend. But they get to do the dance eventually, so it's okay. I'm not as sad as I would be if we were recording this before Endgame. Yeah, so he crashes. I feel like also he could have not crashed it. Like
Yeah, because like Schmidt put on like 2 switches.
autopilot and...
That was it. Autopilot, and it was also written in English.
Yeah. Also, they jammed it before that it was like forcing it into the ground when none of them was controlling it. So he could have like forced it to the ground again, gotten on one of those plane missiles that he flew earlier, and then escaped. I don't know.
Yeah, there seemed like a lot of much better solutions, and it seemed like Peggy was probably smart enough to figure it out, but Captain America was being a little bit mansplaining about this issue to her.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. He was just like, no, guy stuff. I gotta crash the plane.
It's for my country. This is what I was born for. They made me.
He finally had his first kiss, and he's like, okay, I can't top this. It's just time for me to go.
This is it. This is the pinnacle.
I've peaked. I mean, I can't really complain because then like the rest of Marvel like happened because of it. So like I understand why it had to happen. I feel like there should have been more explanation for why it happened though.
Or you could have just put him in a more complicated predicament.
Yeah.
Like you could have just made that more obviously like the only solution.
Right. There's also in that same how it should have ended. Like it's like the same thing. It's this scene, and it's like Steve's like, I gotta put it in the water, and Peggy's like, wait, what about like these other things? And he's like, no, I got to. And she's like, I feel like you're not listening to me. And like it's literally like what you're saying. Like it's Peggy like getting annoyed. Like why don't we just talk about this? We have plenty of time. Why don't you just turn the plane around? Maybe like you don't have to. You could steer it, right?
Which also makes me think because there's like 4 or 5 other of those plane things, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean there's still like other German pilots there? Because like they'd be useless if there's no pilots. Like the pilots are there for a reason.
Remember when Red Skull was climbing onto the ship and she was followed by two Hydra people and they got shot?
Yeah.
Maybe those were the people.
So either there's like 1 or 2 extra guys, or there's nobody else there. Like, if there's nobody else there, then the bombs are useless, right? Because then it would just be like, they can't go to the targets.
Well, he took out a lot of people when he first got on the plane, too, remember? He fought, like, a whole bunch of them.
Yeah,
so it's
true. So maybe some of them were the bomb pilots. They were about to retire. I mean, literally they were, because they were about to commit suicide, like kamikaze.
Well, were those kamikaze planes, or were they just, like, bomb planes? Like, bombers?
They definitely struck me as kamikaze.
Yeah,
planes.
unless they were going to, like, eject before, but then they'd still be in the blaster. Like, I don't know. Oh well.
But like you can make that scene better if like, and I guess it's like kind of a worn out movie trope, but if like those bombs just have like active countdown timers,
Yeah.
then like it's different. Then like you really don't have time. But like we have no reason to believe that these like the explosion of these bombs is imminent at all.
Yeah.
So it just kind of feels out of place for him to be like, there's no other solution.
I mean, like I said, I can't complain because then the rest of Marvel happened.
Yeah, that's true.
It didn't really take me out of the movie too much, really, but like, because I was just, again, looking at the frame angles, not really what was happening.
That's one of the, yeah, I didn't think too much about it when I was watching. Like, I just kind of accepted it as how it was. But when you go back and like
analyze it and talk about it.
Exactly, that's something that you catch a little bit more.
Yeah. Which is also a thing I think a lot of like diehard Marvel people need to just like get past. Like a lot of people get so fed up over like Star Wars and Marvel and all these, any movie really, but like it's really a movie. It's like for the general audience, like just to enjoy, like just enjoy it, you know? As we sit here analyzing them. But yeah, so we flash to end of World War II, war's over. Stark finds the Tesseract, but wants to keep looking because he wants to find Steve. And I like Peggy gets handed from Colonel Phillips the picture of Skinny Steve, which I think is the same picture in her office in Endgame when they go back in time.
Yep.
That's cool.
She misses her boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
So Steve wakes up present day and they stupidly play a game that he was at. Like, why didn't you just pick a game that was like maybe 1 or 2 years later from when he disappeared and then be like,
Yeah,
oh,
like-
you've been in coma for a year.
No, you wouldn't even need to say that's like a coma for a year. You just need to make sure it doesn't like say the date and you'd be
Yeah.
fine.
You also just need to make sure, like, they picked a game from before he left for the war.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like he had gone to that, like, right before he died. He was, like,
Yeah.
that was just super poor planning, whoever did that.
Yeah, it's fine though. He rushes outside to present day New York, and like you said with the tone, like in the color grading.
Oh my gosh, it was so vibrant.
Yeah.
It was so bright. Yeah, like you definitely know it's a different time period.
What a better place to have him run out than, like, Times Square, New York. Like,
Yeah. I also like to think that means like there's a shield base like a block away from Times Square.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think like World War II happens like obviously like a few years, and then like he wakes up present day, and then like an alien invasion happens. Like for Cap, that's all within a period of like a few years of each other. Like that's a lot. And like he becomes buff. Like he's skinny, becomes buff, travels in time, an alien invasion happens. Also fights in World War II. Forgot to say that. Like that all happens with like a very short amount of time for him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then time travels again, but for real.
Yeah. Yeah. So Fury breaks the news to him that he's been asleep. There's a deleted scene for this, and I'm so glad they cut this. Like, it's just this scene, but extended. Like, Cap asks a bunch of questions, like, who are you? Like, where am I? What happened? But, like, I like that it just ends with, like, I had a date. Like, I like that that's where, like, it ends kind of thing.
Imagine if it was like
Yeah, it's good.
like he didn't know if like Germany won or not. So it's like, what if he's like assumes that it's like actually like Germany or something like that, or like Nazis won or whatever, and it's just like, I had a date. Oh well, that's nice. Yeah, we're gonna take you in now.
That's gonna be in Mom. That'll be an alternate universe. They're doing the Marvel What If. I think that's a new animated show.
Oh, that series, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe all of our theories. I would like to claim copyright. If please pay us if you use any of our ideas, Disney, for these projects.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So
Maybe they'll bring you on as a creative director.
oh, dude,
Jake,
that'd be a dream. Marvel, I'm open.
my schedule's wide open for Marvel.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, but anyways, so that is the end of Captain America.
Yeah.
For the post-credit scene.
The post-credit scene is pretty much just a trailer for Avengers.
It really is.
Yep.
I was very sad.
It literally is in a trailer. It was,
yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, but there's actually on the DVD there's a short film, and it's called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer, and it shows the adventures of Coulson as he's driving to New Mexico to like investigate Thor.
Yeah.
So it takes place before Thor, and it's really cool. I don't know if you guys have seen it. So he's like filling up gas, and he goes inside, and he's deciding between vanilla or chocolate donuts. Then someone starts robbing the store. Coulson just like calmly walks up. He's like, I'm here, and then no, they like toss our your car keys over. So he tosses the car keys over, and they go back to the lady, and then he's like, wait, do you want this gun? And he holds up a gun, and then he slides the gun across the floor. And as he's doing that, like, and they go down to pick it up, he like parkours. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, he like parkours across and like beats him up. It's really cool. I really like that. And like the credits for that, there was a lot of people that worked on that too, which is crazy for like such a short thing. But yeah.
I was kind of disappointed with the post-credit scene in this movie.
Yeah.
Especially, number one, because you had to wait till the end of the credits. This is before they were just putting them after the primary credits.
Right.
So you had to wait till the very end of the credits. And then it was just like the cutscene. There's just a cutscene of Nick Fury walking in to talk to Captain America, and then it just cut
It was
to...
really a scene from Avengers.
Yeah, they literally that scene from Avengers, and then they just cut to an Avengers trailer, and I was like, what?
Some assembly required.
But honestly, you got to think about Avengers was like such a huge thing. I know they really wanted to market for it, so they did it, but like it was never like really done before, like bringing multiple movies like together in one, especially like with comic book heroes. So I think that was like, I think they're probably trying something different, trying to build up hype for that, which I think they could have still done with like a regular post-credit scene. But at this point, they actually had stuff filmed for Avengers, which for all the other Marvel movies, they didn't yet. So I think they were just trying to build up hype for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So that is Captain America. That was pretty much what I had for that.
Oh no, this is actually one of my favorite Marvel movies. The Caps overall, just the trilogy is really good.
Captain America's my favorite character for sure. Cap 2 is my favorite MCU film. The first one the Russo brothers did.
Yeah, I really like this one. Like I said, because it's set in a different time period, it kind of takes you away from the standard Marvel that we're kind of used to. The very vibrant colors, the set time period, a lot of alien or like super advanced villains. It's just kind of like a simpler time and all of those things that I really enjoy. Just kind of to change the pace of what's going on. Especially because like since I got Disney Plus, I just like will often just throw on a Marvel movie.
Yeah, definitely.
It was nice to, when I put this on, I was like, oh, like this is so different. This is such like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, totally. All right. Any last words on Cap before I have a few things before we end?
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, so we have this new segment. Don't mean to just drop this on you, Zach. We did this, but it's called Work on What, or WOW. So if you could go back to any time period or present like now, and you could have worked like on any film ever, and it doesn't have to be like your favorite film, like it's a film that like you just like would have liked to have worked on, any film ever, what would that be and why? Feel free to take your time if you need to think about it a little bit. I know it's just like sudden.
Oh, man. Wow, that's a really tough question. Good question, though.
While you think, I can talk. I said Star Wars, the original, because of the innovation they did with like new technology, like George Lucas. That was like the first time they had like a motion tracked camera, and just like how creative they had to be with their low budget.
Yeah, for me, because I feel like we talked about this before, the prequels, because of all the new CGI developments.
The new CGI, yeah.
Because that's pretty much what I'm already like getting into and like stuff I like to do. But at that time, it was the New Horizons. Like, okay, how do you get all these different assets to work on a screen like this with this kind of budget? It's crazy. I mean, yeah, you've had stuff like the Terminator and like all the other stuff before. But like, one, I love Star Wars, and two, I feel like if there's any moment that I would love to work on, it would probably be the prequels to like be on that new edge of like the CGI and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like I touched on earlier in the podcast, I think the capacity with which I would like to get involved would be in the score. 100%.
Yeah.
I even considered like there was a time in my life where I considered like going to school for that and doing that as my career. Obviously, I chose otherwise. I didn't perceive a great deal of stability in that industry, and that was something that was important to me. Yeah. So I moved away from that, but it's still something that I like. Like in my free time, like when most people like open Spotify and listen to, like I put on movie scores.
That's so cool.
And I listen to movie scores. So if there was a particular movie that I would work on, I would probably go back and like shadow Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan in the making of The Dark Knight.
That'd be so cool.
Because, just because I think that that's an iconic film score. That was like a very pivotal moment in superhero filmmaking.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the first times that like the tone of a superhero movie was that like dark and complex, and I think it exists because of the nature of the characters in that. It exists in like a very real world, in that there's no like superheroes. There's some like stretched versions of technology, but like no one has superpowers and anything like this.
Yeah.
And it exists in this very like real and tangible world. So to be able to kind of like learn from Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan working together on that, getting to watch one of the great acting performances of our generation from Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And then, like, kind of like I said before, like, I would love to put my stamp on, like, a film franchise then and just write something iconic like John Williams wrote for so many, like Hans Zimmer's doing now, and, like, we all kind of feel might be a little bit missing from the Avengers. Just to put my stamp on something like that of, like, when you hear a theme, you think of a movie, like, that's pretty common, but when you think of a movie, to think of the music, I feel like is something that's really, really unique. Like, when you think of Harry Potter, or, well, yeah, Harry Potter too, but when you think of Star Wars, you think the Imperial March. Like, when you think of Harry Potter, you think of Hedwig's theme. Things like that. It's really easy to, when you hear a song, be like, oh, that's from this movie, but to write something iconic enough to be like, when you think of that movie, this music comes to mind, is something that I would love to be a part of. So maybe that would be in this Avengers series, because I feel like it's one of the few places where it's lacking a little bit, but really anywhere. But to kind of shadow and learn and be involved in The Dark Knight, because I feel like that's such a great cross-section of so much in film that I really, really love. I think that would be where I would go.
That's awesome. That's really cool. All right, so before we head out, Zach, I wanted to ask if you wanted to promote anything while you're here. I know you're doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, so I just recently left the NCAA, got out of the NCAA, so I kind of own my own face, own my own name, and own the rights to everything that I do again for the first time in a while. So I started up a coaching business where I do coaching from anything from the 800 all the way up to the marathon. Learned a lot of great skills with a professional running team that I worked for 2 years, which was an incredible experience. And it's for anybody of, all abilities. So whether you're trying to get into shape for the first time in your life and you'd like to, run, just complete running a mile, or if you'd like to qualify for Boston in the marathon, I'd love to work with you. From all ages and abilities, all distances are completely welcome. So you can check me out. My website is zscoaching.com, and then same place for all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, ZS Coaching. If you want to, get into shape, if you enjoy running and you want to get better at it and get your times better, I'd love to help you out, or just getting into it. Really anything. Just kind of a way for me to keep running in my life, because it's been the thing that drives my life for the past decade. Yeah. So it's kind of a great way for me to kind of keep a hand in that.
Awesome. Yeah. And I will put a link to your site in our description. So if people want to check that out, easy to click that.
Awesome.
And yeah, definitely. Zach, is even in high school, before he even went on and trained, in college with all these professional teams and stuff, he knew what he was doing. So that now to I can't even imagine what you're going to do and be able to teach people with more training you have. So definitely check him out if you're at all interested. Definitely.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hoo-ha! It's time for patron shout-outs. We got patron Lori, patron Frank, patron Tony, patron Rick. Thank you so much for pledging at the tier that gives you this shout-out. Really, 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 really appreciate the support. Final things. So again, it's our anniversary. Woo. I'll probably post something on social media. Give us a like or something. I don't know. Also, if you have what you've listened to for the past year of podcasting, like I said, that Audible link is in the description. audibletrial.com/whatever you want. That'll help support the show. It's a really easy way to do that. And you also get free audiobooks. I think a free 1 or 2 audiobooks out of that. And seriously, the books that I'm posting it on that our Patreon page for anyone to see. You don't have to be a patron. I seriously would recommend any of these books. The first 3 that I have listed are about Disney and Pixar and how they got started. And one of them's Bob Iger's book. I read it while I was in California, and it seriously is really inspirational about just the entertainment industry if you want to learn more about it. And it taught me about Pixar and Star Wars, Marvel, and how Bob Iger kind of got that into Disney, I guess. And it was interesting seeing the business side of that acquisition, because that was those were the properties I grew up on. I never knew that all this stuff, this business stuff, was happening behind the scenes. So that was kind of interesting. There's other books on there too, not just filmmaking books. I have some Star Wars books because we talked about Star Wars, and some just inspirational general psychology books too. So check that out. Yeah, Daniel, can you vamp while I look for a review I want to read quick?
Vamp? What? Did you say?
Tell us about, what's your favorite book, Daniel?
For some reason I was thinking amp and vampires.
Daniel doesn't read.
It was no, my mind went to a totally different place, and I was totally lost for a second.
See, Daniel's avoiding the question. So
And if I'm being honest, I haven't read any of the books that Jake has on his list, but I trust Jake, so I highly recommend.
Thanks. All right, I have one if you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so this is from my friend Austin from college. The review, he said, enlightening, fun, and educational. He said, podcast is such a feel-good podcast. Numerous quirky movie facts, continuous banter, and even as a first-time listener, Jake Daniel make you feel like you're one of the guys. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Austin. And thank you to everyone who's left a review. I'm going to try to keep reading those for every episode. Yeah, we appreciate all the support everyone's been doing. Yeah, anything anyone else wants to do before we head home?
Nah, I think we're covered.
All right, Daniel, take us away with the introduction.
We just talked about whatever we wanted to talk about, and now we're done. Blank.
Thanks for listening to this one, everyone. I know it was really long. Yeah, we'll be back for Avengers, and then also that poll's on Patreon, so you can vote if you're a patron for what we're going to cover in between the break between MCU Phase 1 and 2. Goodbye!
Peace out!
See ya.